Chapter 828. Bei Yunja's eyebrows moved as her index finger tapped on the computer's casing rhythmically. Her tone was a little impatient. Didn't I say that I don't need your company's shares? One Higgins group was enough to deal with. During this period of time, Delaney had called 8 out of 10 times to mention joining the company. Delaney felt that Bei Yunj was a little angry and instinctively glanced at the higher-ups who were looking at him. He immediately stood up and walked out, not forgetting to say hurriedly, "Master Pei, let me explain." The higher-ups who stayed behind were speechless. Was that still their arrogant and cool boss? Which god was talking to their boss on the phone? She could actually make their boss so humble. In the long corridor, Delaney explained softly, "Look, you're already helping Higgins make a product. Aren't we still old friends? How can Higgins care about you as much as I do?" At this point, Delaney felt sour. He didn't even know where Higgins had found Bei Yunj. The entire academic circle in our nation was looking for her, but they had actually found her. Delaney also felt that Bei Yunj was more concerned about Higgins Corporation than their company. He couldn't possibly watch the big boss run to someone else's camp, right? Bei Yunj was speechless. She finally understood. Delaney was competing with Higgins. "I helped Higgins because Higgins is mine." Bei Yunj's tone was calm and she did not intend to hide it from Delaney. When Delaney heard this, his body froze. After a while, he suddenly regained his senses. "Why, you're the future heir of Higgins Corporation?" Bei Yunj replied. Delaney was speechless. Good fellow. The higher-ups of Higgins were actually spreading rumors outside that the new heir was Nancy's illegitimate daughter and that she was a good-for-nothing who knew nothing. Who the F***ck dared to treat her as a good-for-nothing? Delaney could already predict how Bei Yunj would deal with those troublemakers. He could not help but tremble. Then, Delaney made up his mind. "Yunj, just sign this agreement. This will only benefit you." Moreover, Higgins had been abandoned for so long. What kind of people were there in there? "I can help you. I also hope that Delaney Group and Higgins Group can always maintain friendly cooperation." Bei Yunj's thin eyelids twitched, but she didn't say anything. Actually, she knew that Delaney had helped her a lot. "Soon," she said, "you've given me too many shares. Change it and send a copy to my email." Hearing this, Delaney felt that happiness had come too suddenly. He was so excited that he could not speak. All right, I'll get someone to draft the agreement right away. Very soon. The interior of the Delaney Group was in an uproar because of the mysterious partner. At this time, Bei Yunj had already returned to the classroom with her laptop. He saw that the other teams were still working overtime to edit the content of the report. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. She quickly withdrew her gaze and left the professor. When the members of Group 5 saw Bei Yunj, their faces became even more distorted. They actually lost to such a person? What's so great about that? Why is that person so arrogant? After Bei Yunj left, someone immediately said unhappily. Another person was also indignant. "That's right. If it wasn't for Yelena, this group would have been doomed, all right?" Lilia's expression darkened. At this moment, the others finally realized that these words had agitated Lilia. Chapter 829. "Lilia, that's not what we meant. Then what do you mean?" Lilia asked in return, leaving everyone speechless. Lilia pursed her lips. "Continue to change it. Such content was like trash in front of Yelena's team. I don't believe that they wrote that report themselves." Someone said angrily. "But we can't prove that they didn't write that report." They were indignant, but they did not notice that a dark look flashed past Lilia's eyes. The next day, everyone came to the classroom early to prepare. Yelena also increased her practice and was sure that there would not be any problems. She moved closer to Bei Yunj and said in surprise, "Yunj, how much is your computer? It looks pretty good. The texture and craftsmanship are top-notch." "Someone gave it to me." Bei Yunj said casually, "If you like it, I'll get them to give it to you in the future. That's not good, right? I'll give you the money. The eyelids of the other team members twitched. It was their first time seeing someone want to buy a computer just because it was good looking. Buy it and put it at home? Bei Yunj had always had no concept of living expenses. For example, the last time she recorded a variety show, she bought a watermelon for 100 yuan. She thought of a cheap price and asked tentatively, 10,000 yuan? With that said, everyone else's bodies trembled. They did not understand how this lousy computer was really worth 10,000 yuan. But then, Yelena was pleasantly surprised. So cheap. The team members were speechless. They really did not understand the concept of money of rich people. Just transfer some money. They don't lack money, Bei Yunj said slowly. In fact, good internet. Our nation's Computing Institute's conservative valuation of this computer was 200,000 to 300,000 yuan per unit. The design concept and various advantages were too far beyond the current technology level. It was to the extent that the manufacturers they were talking to were shocked and suspicious. Was technology so advanced now? However, after finding out what the product design was, they dispelled their worries and even bet that this product would become popular in the rich circle. This was the core model. Of course, there were also ordinary models, but the cheaper ones were more than 20,000 yuan. After Yelena transferred the money, the more she looked at Bei Yunj's computer, the more she felt that Bei Yunj was really good to her. The others gradually realized that they really didn't understand the world of the rich. For the entire morning, the other groups were rushing to finish the content. Only the sixth group was chatting, which made the other groups jealous. Team 5's face darkened. This group of people was really too arrogant. Noon. Bei Yunj and Yelena went out for dinner together. One of the members called and said that he had something to do in the afternoon and could not be there. Then the USB flash drive you left with me. The man hesitated. The key was that he had changed some of the content yesterday to make it easier for Yelena to give her speech. Bei Yunj said calmly, "Put it on my computer." "All right, sorry to trouble you." The boy heaved a sigh of relief. "It's okay. You do what you need to do." Bei Yunj didn't care too much and went to line up with Yelena to get the milk tea. But after the meal, as soon as Bei Yunj and Yelena returned, they felt that the atmosphere was not right. Everyone around them was looking at them. Team 5 looked like they were gloating, as if they were watching a good show. "Bei Yunj, did you ask Li Jun to leave the USB flash drive with you?" Bei Yunj nodded and glanced at his table. "Yes." "Then you took the USB flash drive?" the team member asked anxiously. Bei Yunj's gaze turned cold. "No." Chapter 8:30. Where did you get the time to get it? Yunj and I answered the call together. "We're in the canteen." Yelena frowned and said, "Don't tell me you lost the USB flash drive." The others remained silent. The atmosphere fell silent. The other teams pretended not to see anything. Only Team 5 was gloating. Bei Yunj did not say anything and only walked to his table. He looked around and did not see the USB flash drive. Then, Yelena called Li Jun and confirmed that Li Jun had left the USB flash drive on Bei Yunj's computer before he left. Who was using the classroom at noon? Bei Yunj rubbed his fingers against the computer and asked carelessly. "I think there's only Team 1 and Team 5, someone said. Then, Team 1 immediately said, "Our team went to the classroom next door after that. Besides, only 2 people from our team stayed behind. I guarantee it wasn't us." Everyone looked at Team 5. At this moment, the members of Team 5 sneered. Who's to blame for not taking good care of their own things? That's right. They can only blame themselves for not keeping a low profile. They've been smug for so long. Now, they don't even have a PowerPoint. Everyone knew the importance of a PowerPoint, especially someone like Yelena, who needed to rely on a PowerPoint. Without a PowerPoint, the entire segment would collapse. Yelena's expression was ugly. The member behind her also said softly, Team 5 has been in our classroom from the beginning to the end. Yelena said in a low voice, do you know that this is theft? How can we sue you? What has it got to do with us? You lost your own things and you're still pushing the blame? Someone from Team 5 immediately stood up and said mockingly, do you have evidence that someone from our team took it? Actually, there were times when Team 5 left, but they were not so kind as to tell Team 6. What should we do? It's almost time for the speech. Can the PowerPoint be redone? Someone asked anxiously. Mandarin Chinese, the materials are all with Li Jun. It definitely won't work, another member said. Tisk, if that report was really done by you, why don't you go off script? What's so difficult about it? The girl beside her laughed, but her tone was full of ridicule. That's right. Your report came from an unknown source. No one reported it. Do you think that it's so easy to get first place? Just get someone to do a PowerPoint presentation for you? A dark look flashed across Lilia's eyes. She curled her lips and did not say anything. Suddenly, a clear and cold voice rang out. Is no one going to admit it? No one responded to his words. Her beautiful eyes curled up and her lips curled into a playful smile, but it was filled with hostility. It's pretty good. Now that you're so tight-lipped, I hope that when we find out who you are, you'll cut the crap. Everyone raised their heads to look at the girl, but they were intimidated by the coldness in her eyes. His scalp went numb subconsciously. The people in Group 5 suddenly felt a little uneasy and looked at Wendy and Lilia. In their group, Wendy and Lilia were the last to leave. Actually, they were also wondering if it was done by someone from their own team. However, this matter itself was difficult to investigate. What's more, the surveillance cameras in the corridor were broken some time ago. Therefore, they didn't want to say anything. How much longer? Bei Yunj asked. Yelena's palms were sweating. 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, he began his speech. Everyone had to be there. Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes darkened and she licked her red lips. My turn. Yelena didn't think that she could control this report at all. However, she didn't want to embarrass Bei Yunj. Chapter 831. Yunj, are you confident? Yelena wanted to say something but hesitated. She changed her words to the one that would hurt Bei Yunj the least. However, Bei Yunj replied lazily, I'm all right. Yelena was speechless. The other team members were speechless. They also wanted to have Bei Yunj's calm king's mentality. Yunj, you'd better. Before Yelena could finish speaking, Bei Yunj stuffed a small cake into her mouth. Then, she lazily placed the other books on the computer and fell asleep on her stomach. She was not afraid of crushing the computer at all. She even pulled up her hood to block the sun. Yelena was speechless. It was good that she slept. When Bei Yunj fell asleep, she would secretly go up and talk. When the others saw Yelena's group hurriedly preparing another PowerPoint presentation, they could not help but have sarcasm in their eyes. How could they prepare it now? Did they think they were dead? Soon. The professors brought along 2 men in their 30s like stars surrounding the moon. It was easy to imagine their identities. There were also people who were puzzled. Wasn't there only one executive from the Delaney group? What about the other one? Only Lilia stared straight at the other invigilator. She was determined to make the invigilator remember her. This time, the order was reissued. Unfortunately, Yelena drew the 5th group, and Lilia drew the 6th group. This made Lilia raise an eyebrow with a smile on her face. Wasn't it perfect that there was such a lousy person in front of her to set her off? After the speech started. Although they were all students from the top universities, they were still a little nervous in front of these people. After the first speech, neither of them spoke and waited for the next one with an indifferent expression. It was obvious that these people were of no value to them. This made the later groups even more nervous. Happy. After 4 consecutive speeches, the senior executive of the Delaney group, Sheng Yuanxiu, could not help rubbing the space between his eyebrows. Were the students of Neely University only at this level now? But would that ancestor even take a fancy to him? Beside him, Duan Shuang was also wondering if he should look at other schools. However, just as their thoughts were running wild, Yelena was about to go on stage when Bei Yunj suddenly woke up. Is it my turn? Yelena, why did he wake up at this time? Yunj, listen to me, I'm not listening. Bei Yunj stood up. Seeing that Yelena was not done, she reached out and gently pinched her cheeks. Her beautiful lips pouted, and her words could not be heard clearly. Yelena, at this very moment. Seeing that it was Bei Yunj who stood up, the other teams couldn't help but laugh. This made the other two a little uneasy. Could it be that this one was even worse? At this moment. Professor, what should we do if their PowerPoint slides are lost? Wendy asked with a gloating smile. His voice wasn't loud, but the two people in front of him heard it. Xing Yuanxiu's face darkened. He threw the documents into the trash can. How could he lose his PowerPoint presentation? How could he let him do his research without worry? This made Bei Yunj glance at her carelessly. When Wendy met her eyes, she felt inexplicably guilty and quickly looked away. Seeing that she could not pull Bei Yunj down, Yelena was about to give Bei Yunj the simplified PowerPoint presentation that she had not finished. However, in the next second, Bei Yunj took her laptop and went on stage. Sorry, I don't need a PowerPoint presentation. Bei Yunj placed the laptop on the podium lazily and connected it to the projector. P.S. Pft, you're first in the monthly votes. Why are you so amazing today? Rub them and kiss them one by one. I'll go prepare to update. Guard the rankings obediently and send Master Pay up. Chapter 832. But if you need it, it's fine too. After Bei Yunj's computer was turned on, she slowly picked up the pen. Little Y, office mode. Soon, the people present heard a mechanical voice. It was the sound of the laptop. Roger that, Master. Please select the function attribute. Bei Yunj did not even raise her eyes. Speech and explanation. Yes, Master. Office mode, speech and explanation mode has been activated, then. Bei Yunj had just raised her face when Xing Yuanxiu met her eyes. The pen in his hand shook and fell. Why was she here? Xing Yuanxiu was one of the few higher-ups who knew that Bei Yunj was a partner out of nowhere. However, at this moment, when he met Bei Yunj here, his entire body froze. When he came back to his senses, Xing Yuanxiu felt the new boss's gaze sweeping over. The back of his head felt cold. When he thought of what he had just done, he immediately walked to the trash can and began to rummage through it without caring about his image. This scene shocked the professors and students. What was going on with this big shot? Why did he start rummaging through the trash can? The assistant next to him could not stand it anymore. President Sheng, let me help you, no need. Xing Yuanxiu immediately snatched the trash can and rummaged through it seriously. The assistant was speechless. What kind of special hobby was this? After finding the piece of paper, Xing Yuanxiu carefully held it again. He glanced at Bei Yunj and returned to his seat. This also made Duan Shuang look at Xing Yuanxiu with a strange expression. Bei Yunj glanced at the people present casually and said unhurriedly, "Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bei Yunj, the speaker for this year's speech. My team member is Yelena." Hearing that, there was a burst of laughter from the audience. But a few minutes after Bei Yunj's speech, Huaxia Chinese everyone's expressions, which were originally there to watch the show, gradually froze. Yelena and the others felt that something was wrong. Why did it feel like she was explaining the original report? In fact, the technical terms were even more incomprehensible. Back then, because it was too deep, Yelena and the others had edited the original report. However, Bei Yunj's speech this time not only explained the original report, but also expanded into different fields. The scene made everyone's scalp go numb. However, although it was difficult to understand, as long as Bei Yunj mentioned a certain key point, the projection interface behind her would automatically push the key point to the explanation. There was also the occasional case analysis below. This was a fully automated slideshow. Yelena was stunned for a long time before she muttered, "How can a 10,000 yuan computer be of such standard?" The other team members were also shocked by Bei Yunji's inferior computer. They were speechless. 10,000 yuan was indeed a friendly price. Oh no, this was the price of a father. After a while, the students began to feel dizzy and disoriented. The smiles of the professors in front of them also gradually stiffened, as if they knew the identity of the person in front of them. Coincidentally, they had just signed a confidentiality agreement yesterday, and today, they saw this venerable one. Was he really 19 years old? Xing Yuanxiu couldn't understand what Bei Yunji was talking about at all, but he didn't dare to ask Bei Yunji to stop. He pretended to listen attentively. Beside them, Duan Shuang wanted to shout for them to stop, but seeing that Xing Yuanxiu seemed to understand, he could only hold it in. The lecture was coming to an end. Bei Yunji paused for a moment. This made Xing Yuanxiu think that it was over and almost applauded enthusiastically. But immediately after, Bei Yunji curled his lower lip and lazily connected the other end of the content. The more the professors and students listened to this content, the more familiar it sounded. However, the people in Lilia's team instantly turned pale. P.S. Second update. Chapter 833. Was Bei Yunji repeating Lilia's speech from yesterday? At this moment, Lilia felt a chill seep into her bones. The calm expression on her face had long frozen. Her spine started to turn cold. Bei Yunji's repeated speech was exactly the same as her previous speech. Lilia's team members couldn't take it anymore. They stood up abruptly and reprimanded loudly with ugly expressions. Bei Yunji, how can you do this? You're plagiarizing our team's report. Bei Yunji raised his eyebrows and said lazily, "Didn't your team copy our team's report too?" As soon as he finished speaking, the entire classroom fell silent. Indeed, when Yelena's report was released yesterday, the entire class had more or less modified it according to Yelena's team's report. Coincidentally, Bei Yunji had just left the classroom when he heard Lilia's team reading their team's report. Lilia's expression instantly turned ugly. She bit her lip and hesitated. "You can't, Bei Yunji, you did it on purpose. What does it have to do with us that your team lost their PowerPoint? If you suspect us, show us the evidence." At this moment, the professors in the front row looked embarrassed. They used their eyes to hint at them not to ignore the occasion, but at this moment, no one paid attention to him. On the other hand, Xing Yuanxiu looked at Lilia's team in surprise. There was no warmth in his eyes. He really didn't expect that someone would dare to pick a fight in front of him. Xing Yuanxiu smiled and pulled back the professor who wanted to stop the fight. He wasn't afraid of blowing things up at all. Aya, if a student has a misunderstanding, just say it on the spot. This matter of stealing someone else's PowerPoint is too immoral. Our Delaney group doesn't dare to accept such a person. As soon as he finished speaking, the people in Lilia's team panicked instantly. They immediately exchanged glances and decided not to admit it. They didn't want to miss such a good opportunity. Hence. 67 Wendy said sharply, "Bei Yunji, who do you think you are? You're deliberately targeting our team without any evidence. If you don't give our team an explanation today, I'll go and find the vice principal." She said proudly, "Not only you, but also your team members' results will be invalidated." Bei Yunji licked her canine teeth and sneered lazily. "What if I find evidence?" Without waiting for them to react, Bei Yunji said gently with a smile, "Is the whole group withdrawing from school?" As soon as he finished speaking, the professors felt a chill run down their spines. They wanted to stop the students who were shouting at Bei Yunji. Who the hell was this? Yes. If she couldn't produce evidence, would she be able to stand on the stage and provoke her so calmly? However, the next second, Wendy sneered and said confidently, "If you find out who took it, then make the culprit drop out of school." What's wrong with that? Lilia's entire team seemed to have suffered a great grievance and clamored to cancel Bei Yunji's team's results. As long as Bei Yunji's results were cancelled, their team still had a chance to win first place. However, Bei Yunj casually took in everyone's expressions. She turned her head and rubbed the silver laptop in her hand. The corners of her lips curled up. Little G, I need a surveillance video of this afternoon. It's related to the non-recognizable faces. Soon. Another mechanical voice that was different from the one just now sounded. It was a younger female voice. Master, please wait a moment. The system is investigating. A few seconds later, the soft female voice sounded again. Master, little G has already intercepted unfamiliar faces for you. There are a total of 3 people. Do you want to enter the short video to check? Chapter 834. As soon as he finished speaking, the hearts of the people in Lilia's team trembled. Their bodies stiffened as they stared fixedly at the brand new computer in Bei Yunj's hands. How was this possible? Which brand of computer would have such a device? The others did not know where this black technology came from. It could even be said that it was science fiction. Thus, everyone stared unblinkingly at Bei Yunj's computer. At this moment, Xing Yuanqiu seemed to understand why Delaney was willing to give up his shares and pull Bei Yunj to his side. He was probably going to dominate the entire field of artificial intelligence. Xing Yuanqiu felt a chill run down the back of his head. He felt that this new boss was more and more terrifying. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and casually glanced at the nervous faces of Lilia's team. His cold and dark eyes were filled with interest. Look. His tone was slow and intimidating. Look at those reckless people. As soon as he finished speaking, in the background of the projection, 3 faces appeared on the cover video. The texture was so clear that it was hard not to admit it. The first was Li Jun from Bei Yunj's team. The second was Wendy. The third was the boy from Lilia's team who had shouted the most. Instantly, the members of Lilia's team turned pale and their pupils constricted. The second one. Bei Yunj opened his mouth and the second video opened. Immediately, Wendy's voice was sharp and she shouted without any care for her image, "Turn it off. Turn it off." However, the projected video kept playing. The computer had long been in the testing stage and had been identified several times. It only accepted Bei Yunj's instructions. 51 aesthetic. Soon, everyone heard Wendy's voice. Are we really going to do this? The next moment, a voice that did not appear was also recorded. It seemed to be chatting. Forget it. First place is not that important to me. On the other hand, you will be ordered to leave Neely, right? Everyone recognized this voice. It was Lilia. From the angle of the table looking up at Wendy, one could clearly see her twisted face when she was jealous. Why can that bunch of trash get first place? We don't even know if their report is theirs. Lilia's voice was laughing. Indeed, but there's nothing we can do about it. Who says there's no way? Their USB drive is here. Isn't that an opportunity given to us by God? After that, Wendy directly took the USB flash drive. Lilia, who was beside her, seemed to be persuading her, but every word she said was retreating in order to advance. He asked Wendy to go outside the school and destroy the USB flash drive. After the short video was played, the way everyone looked at Wendy changed. Even the way they looked at Lilia was thought-provoking. She really did not expect that someone would destroy other people's things and even think that there was no evidence. She was so self-righteous that she wanted to erase Bei Yunj's results. Bei Yunj remained expressionless. Next one. Very soon, another video entered. It was a boy from Lilia's group. After he saw Wendy leave, he walked over to Bei Yunj's computer. He sensed that Wendy had taken something, but he didn't say anything. In fact, he was the one who had shouted the loudest just now. Bei Yunj rubbed the 4 corners of the silver-white computer. It looked like a decorative design. But in fact, it was embedded with the most advanced pinhole miniature camera from Country R's Computing Institute. There were a total of 27 of them. Bei Yunj had specially gotten someone to modify them. The cost of each pinhole miniature camera was about a few million yuan. In order to make the most perfect angles, more than 10 of them had been destroyed. Even Marcus felt the pinch and felt that Bei Yunj was a prodigal. Of course, such equipment would not be available for sale at that time. P.S. There are still 2 more updates. Be obedient and hold on to Master Pei's monthly votes list. The free chapters are in the monthly votes lottery again. Obedient people can go back to the lottery. Chapter 835. Actually, very few people would be so bored as to install pinhole cameras on their computers. Unfortunately, Bei Yunj was one of the few. In her previous life, when she first joined the company, her computer was often touched by others. Bei Yunj felt that it was not clean enough, so she asked the Research Institute to install more than 10 pinhole cameras. And a few months ago, they could always catch a few people who stole business secrets. After that, no one dared to touch Bei Yunj's computer anymore. Drop out? Bei Yunj's voice ruthlessly hit their hearts. Lilia and the others stiffened, but their legs were weak. And Yelena felt that Bei Yunj was a hidden god. The technology level of this computer could be directly borrowed from a sci-fi film crew. 10,000 yuan could buy this computer, right? The other members of Bei Yunj's group started to envy Yelena. When Bei Yunj came on the first day, only Yelena was close to Bei Yunj. She had bet on the right thing. Lilia did not say anything, but no one noticed that she had just sent a text message to someone else. Wendy bit her lip and refused to admit her mistake. I only took your USB drive. Do you have to be so calculative? Bei Yunj did not say anything, but someone beside her said. You also know that you took someone else's USB drive? What kind of dog is this? Do you think someone owes you? These words made Wendy's face turn green and red. She glared at the girl again. Bei Yunj, actually, this is not a big deal. What do you want? As long as you don't make Wendy drop out of school, I'll try my best to satisfy you. Lilia suddenly smiled. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows playfully. What if I want you to drop out of school? Instantly. The smile on Lilia's face froze. She did not expect Bei Yunj to be so ungrateful. Guangxi. However, in the next moment, someone ran in from the door, panting. Lilia, and the exchange students who just arrived, please follow me to the vice principal's office. Hearing this, the other professors' expressions changed. When did the vice principal come back? The professors wanted to stop Bei Yunj, but they couldn't show it in front of the students. In the end, they could only push a professor out and quickly call Principal Worrell. The vice principal probably didn't know who this exchange student was. If he said something wrong, wouldn't all the connections they had built up all this time be for nothing? Seeing this, Xing Yuanxiu didn't dare to act rashly. After all, Bei Yunj didn't even look at him from the beginning to the end. But he couldn't help but feel anxious. The Bei Yunj to be called Bei Yunj to be called to Bei Yunj. Then Bei Yunj must have offended the angel family this time. Yunj to Bei Yunj to be called 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 Bei Yunj of Bei the of Bei to be called to be called to Bei to be to the to be called to be called to be called to TSK. When Lilia went out just now, she looked so happy. In the corridor, Lilia looked at Bei Yunj and suppressed the jealousy in her eyes. She said word by word, Miss Pei, you probably don't know that I'm the second daughter of the angel family, right? You think you're smart and want to be in the limelight, but you're actually courting death. Miss Angel. Bei Yunj spoke slowly. When Lilia turned her head, she sneered softly and said in a casual and unruly tone, before you say anything, you should think carefully. Who do you think you are? As soon as she finished speaking, Lilia's face was ashen and gradually distorted. Chapter 836. At the vice principal's office. The moment Bei Yunj and Lilia entered, the vice principal walked up to Lilia enthusiastically. Lilia, have you lost weight recently? Sit down and talk. Lilia sat on the sofa and looked towards Bei Yunj. She realized that she was already sitting on a rattan chair. The vice principal's expression did not look good. "Vice principal, let's solve the problem." Lilia told him about the feud between Pei Yunj and her team, avoiding the important points and dwelling on the trivial ones. It only made people think that Pei Yunj was deliberately using her report to embarrass her in public. Lilia smiled and said, "This matter has a huge impact on my team. Vice principal, you know what the annual recruitment season means to us." The vice principal's face darkened and he did not look Pei Yunj in the eye. "Lilia, don't worry. When Mr. Angel comes, he will definitely give you a satisfactory answer." With that, he turned around and said coldly, "Student Pei, right? I wonder if your guardian can be present now? Or any elder will do." Pei Yunj said slowly, "No." The vice principal's face darkened even more as he mocked, "Student Pei, do you think it's so easy to resolve something like this today?" Pei Yunj's eyes moved. After thinking for a moment, she chose one from the list on her phone. Soon. Under the floor-to-ceiling window, Delaney, who was drinking with his legs crossed, suddenly felt his phone vibrate. He turned to look at the caller ID and shuddered. God of Fortune. Delaney immediately picked it up. "Master Pei, what's the matter?" Pei Yunj was silent for a moment. "There's something. Neely University wants to invite my parents. But my parents aren't in our nation." Delaney's body trembled. He did not expect Neely University to be so arrogant. Invited parents? How were they going to send them back? After reacting, Delaney was inexplicably excited. So, he had a chance to be a fake parent? Rounding up, it would be his daughter later? There was such a good thing. Delaney put on his suit jacket and picked up his most expensive and flashy car keys. He smiled kindly. "I understand. Everyone needs an amiable parent. Aren't I here now?" "Yunj, don't be anxious." Pei Yunj could sense his anticipation. He felt that something was wrong. After hanging up, Delaney had just gotten into his luxury car that was worth nearly 100 million yuan when Tich called. "What?" "I'm very busy." Delaney's tone was perfunctory. "Tich, Dad, today is my award ceremony." "Didn't you say, Tich, you've grown up? It's not easy for us as parents. Don't make trouble for your father, okay?" Delaney sped all the way and hung up the phone after saying that perfunctorily. Tich, at this time. On the sofa of the vice principal's office, a shrewd old man sat calmly. "I'm sorry to trouble you to come here, Mr. Angel." The vice principal's attitude was flattering. "It's just that this matter has indeed caused a lot of harm to student Lilia." Angel turned around and saw Pei Yunj. He couldn't help but frown. Why was it her? Seeing that it was Pei Yunj, Angel hesitated. After all, it would be troublesome if he offended Fernans. However, Lilia suddenly said, "Grandpa, because of something this time, Miss Pei wants me and my friend to drop out of school." Seeing this, the vice principal immediately spoke up for Lilia and exaggerated Pei Yunj's evil deeds. This made Angel's expression darken as he asked in a low and dignified voice, "Miss Pei, you want my granddaughter to drop out of school? P.S. 500 monthly votes have been delivered. The monthly votes will continue to increase by 1,000. Thank you, children, for helping Master Pei surpass the rankings. First place on the monthly votes list, a new high. Let's guard the monthly votes list and send Master Pei up." Chapter 837. Angel's gaze was cold and carried the pressure of a superior. However, Pei Yunj still looked at him unhurriedly and asked, "Could it be that she's my granddaughter?" In an instant, the atmosphere became even colder. Angel's face darkened. This was the first time he had met such a daring little girl. Did she really think that she could be unbridled just because the Fernans family had taken a liking to her? "When will the parents she called come?" Angel asked in a deep voice. "Half an hour." After the vice principal finished speaking, he said indignantly, "Old sir, don't be angry. I'm already preparing to contact Hengda High School in Yuncheng and ask her school to expel her. Bei Yunj raised her eyelids and glanced at him. Then, she chuckled softly. What are you laughing at? Angel asked with a dark face. Nothing. I just feel that at your age, you've reached out quite far. Bei Yunja's slow words instantly made the vice principal and Angel's faces darken. Anger was about to erupt from their chests. What did she mean by that? Was she cursing them to die early? Bei Yunj. Lilia's expression changed as well. This was the first time she had met someone who dared to speak to her grandfather like that. Good. Very good. Angel slammed the cup on the table. Then. He asked with a dark expression, who are her parents? When the vice principal heard this, he whispered to Angel in a fawning manner, no matter how powerful they are, can they be more powerful than you? A dark look flashed across Lilia's eyes as she reminded him softly, Grandpa, the Bayan Manor is only 10 minutes away. Obviously. The person Bei Yunj was looking for was not Fernand's. Angel's brows relaxed. Then he had nothing to worry about. He took a deep breath and picked up his teacup again. His tone was filled with a hint of arrogance and sarcasm. All right, since she's insensible, then let's wait for her parents to come and let them teach her how to be sensible. Not long after. The vice principal sent an email to Hengda High School right in front of Bei Yunj, requesting that Bei Yunj withdraw from the school. However, when he turned around, he found that the man was still playing with his phone fearlessly. His attitude was particularly arrogant. When are your parents coming? The vice principal asked coldly. The students are not sensible, and the parents don't have a sense of time. Angel sneered. But don't worry, student pay. I'll wait for your parents to arrive. Angel thought that Bei Yunja's parents didn't dare to come and were deliberately stalling for time. However, as soon as she finished speaking, a young man in a suit wearing glasses walked in. He was holding a bag and panting. He didn't look too good. Today, the boss had insisted on driving a convertible sports car. Great, it had just rained. He could only let him come to Neely University first. Miss Pei, boss is coming soon. The assistant explained carefully. She did not dare to tell Bei Yunj that Delaney had gone back to change. Bei Yunj looked up and asked, where is he? Boss asked me to come and listen first. He'll be here soon. After the assistant finished speaking, a mocking look appeared in Angel's eyes. As a parent, you don't even dare to come? Angel leaned against the sofa and said coldly and sarcastically, in that case, I want to know how you want to deal with her. Your family's young lady is very good at offending people. The assistant, who had been speaking obediently to Bei Yunj, quickly got into character. He smiled meaningfully and asked, deal with her? She offended our Angel family. Don't you think she should? The assistant adjusted his tie and interrupted him gently. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm the assistant to the CEO of Delaney Group. P.S. The monthly votes have exceeded 1,000. After writing today's update, there's still a double update. The monthly votes have exceeded 1,500. Continue to update. They have been very impressive these 2 days. Master Pei is still at the top of the monthly votes list. Old Sue continued to update after guarding Master Pei's ranking. After a few chapters, Master Du should be out. Chapter 838. As soon as he finished speaking, Angel, who was still full of sarcasm, gradually stopped and looked up at him. How was this possible? He remembered that Delaney only had one son. How could he have a daughter? Besides, didn't Fernand say that this girl had no background? She was really Delaney's daughter. Was this called no background? Or, Fernand's had long wanted to marry Delaney? Angel's mind buzzed, but the assistant smiled. Before anyone else could react, he placed the gold-plated business card on the table. This is our corporation's legal number. Mr. Angel, please accept it. Then, the assistant smiled and said, the corporation hasn't fought a lawsuit for a long time. The legal team has been very free recently, so don't worry. The meaning behind his words was obvious. I'll wait for you to tear it apart. At this moment, the vice principal's expression also changed and he froze. He did not expect this exchange student to be related to the Delaney group. The scientific research field had been in a slump for the past 2 years. Before the Higgins family fell behind, the Angel family had always been the dominant one. Although the Delaney group was known as the #1 in technology, it was still a small family and a new corporation. However, for so many years, the Angel family's scientific research had not been able to cause any big waves. Therefore, when Delaney bought the patent for a sky-high price and started a new project, the Delaney group almost set off the mainstream of technology. After a beautiful turnaround, the Angel family had no way to fight back. This year's asset evaluation was on par with the Angel family's Angel group. Angel's expression did not look too good. Everyone knew that the Delaney group's legal team was definitely the best in the country. They had never failed for so many years. They used such a team to resolve campus disputes. The vice principal knew how to read people's expressions and immediately smiled. It's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. Actually, it's all a conflict between students. There's no need to take it seriously. He beat around the bush. Mr. Delaney's career is rising now. I don't think he'll find an opponent for himself over such a small matter, right? As soon as he finished speaking. Soon, a voice sounded from outside the door. Who said it's a small matter? Everyone turned around and saw Delaney in a suit and leather shoes. He straightened his back and had 7 or 8 bodyguards behind him. His aura was oppressive. How was this a school visit? He was clearly here to cause trouble. Bei Yunj, she had asked him to come to school, so why did he bring so many people with him? Yunj, how is it? Did you suffer any grievances? Delaney did not even look at the person opposite him. He immediately showed concern for Bei Yunj with a kind gaze. Bei Yunj. No. That's good. Delaney nodded in satisfaction. When he turned around, he realized that the person opposite him was very familiar. Mr. Angel? Delaney raised his eyebrows and smiled in surprise. I didn't expect to see you here. Angel couldn't sit still either. This is your daughter? When Delaney heard that, he was secretly happy. She couldn't hide the smile on her face. How could that be? Actually, Miss Pei is considered my friend. Your friend? After Angel asked, Lilia's face froze. She didn't expect Bei Yunj to hook up with Delaney. Then, before Angel could speak, the little assistant said enthusiastically, Boss, old Mr. Angel wants you to deal with Miss Pei. Chapter 839. Hearing this, Delaney's eyes turned cold as he asked with a cold smile, Deal with it? I wonder what Yunj did to make you so angry. The vice principal was the first to speak. It was Bei Yunj who wanted Lilia to drop out of school, so this misunderstanding happened. With that said, before Delaney could say anything, a retort sounded from the door. Nonsense. Everyone turned to look. It was Yelena, the principal, and Wendy, who had just spoken. Wendy had only come to see how Bei Yunj had been taught a lesson. After all, Mr. Angel was already here. Wouldn't Bei Yunj lose a layer of skin? However, she did not expect the current situation to be completely different from what she had imagined. What's your name? How dare you? Before the vice principal could finish speaking, Principal Worrell's expression was livid as he interrupted him with a terrible tone. Principal John, it's been hard on you to deal with a student's matter after returning to Neely. The vice principal's gaze was evasive. When he was placed in Neely University, everyone knew that he was from the Angel family. This time, hearing Principal Worrell say this, he felt even more guilty. Principal Worrell, I just think that this student's behavior is bad, so we must, shut up. The veins on Principal Worrell's forehead were starting to pop. Usually, it was fine if John was biased occasionally, but he could not be bothered. But now, he even dared to touch him? Yelena, continue. Principal Worrell said. This matter. It's clearly because Wendy and Lilia stole our team's USB flash drive. Yelena did not hide anything and repeated the entire matter. She added, if you don't believe me, we still have a video. Instantly, Lilia and Wendy could not stand still. Principal Worrell, my granddaughter has been studying here for 2 years. Why do you have to make such a fuss in the 3rd year? Just get Lilia to apologize and punish her. After knowing the truth, Angel changed his words and said in a low voice, I hope Principal Worrell can give me some face. With that said, the sound of a mineral water bottle being crushed abruptly rang out from the side. In the blink of an eye, he saw Bei Yunj standing up casually and throwing the crushed mineral water bottle into the rubbish bin. Her bright and languid eyes were filled with coldness. His intimidating aura made people inexplicably fearful. Without saying a word, Principal Worrell felt inexplicably terrified. Principal Worrell felt his scalp go numb. Was this a joke? If he gave Angel face, who could appease this ancestor? After regaining his senses, Worrell immediately said, John, from today onwards, you are suspended from all positions in the school. Lilia and Wendy were involved in serious matters and were dealt with according to their own will. As an insider, Paul has seriously disrupted the school's discipline and will be penalized once. Instantly. Not only the students, but even Angel and the vice principal's expressions changed. It was clearly a small matter, so why did it become so serious? Because of Delaney? However, Delaney Group and Angel Group were still on par with each other. Why did Principal Worrell have to be so ruthless? Suddenly, Principal Worrell walked over to Bei Yunj and greeted her warmly. Hello, classmate Pei. However, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. How was your experience in school these past few days? He had almost caused trouble in just one afternoon. Bei Yunj glanced at him and smiled lazily. Not bad. Your school even sent my high school a letter of expulsion. If not for the fact that I entered high school through donations, would have found it quite scary. P.S. Third update. Chapter 840. Principal Worrell's smile froze. If not for the fact that there were people present, he would have blown John's head off. In order to get Zhong Xinglin and Marcus to relent, how much effort had he put in? He had gone to the square for afternoon tea in the afternoon, and this dog dared to send a letter of expulsion to his school? Did he know how much he had spent to get Bei Yunj to become a professor at Neely University? I'll get someone to change it immediately. Student Pei, don't worry about this, Principal Worrell said immediately. At this moment, Delaney could not understand Bei Yunj anymore. With her standard, she even donated a building to enroll? Did the big boss have so many tricks up his sleeves? I still have something on, so I'll go back first. Bei Yunj said goodbye politely and walked out. Delaney immediately chased after her. Master Pei, are we still going to recruit people from Neely University in the future? Up to you. Just as Bei Yunj finished speaking, someone walked over. Hello, Student Pei. I'm Duan Shuang, the Deputy Chief of CI-7 Neely Branch. I wonder if you're interested in CI-7. Duan Shuang handed the name card to Bei Yunj. Delaney glared at Duan Shuang fiercely for poaching people back then. Duan Shuang turned around and saw Delaney's hateful gaze. This person looked familiar. No need. I won't be staying in Neely for long. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. This was the first time Duan Shuang had been rejected. He was stunned for a long time before smiling. In that case, here's my name card. You can contact me if you need anything. With that said, he handed the name card to Bei Yunj. After Duan Shuang left, Delaney said sourly, Master Pei, where did so many people come from? I don't know. Bei Yunj stuffed it into her pocket. After entering the classroom, she put the name card in Yelena's book. Coincidentally, from today onwards, she did not have to return to Neely University. In the principal's office. Principal Worrell, are you going to embarrass the Angel family like this? Angel's expression turned ugly. Don't you already know what your granddaughter has done? Worrell asked. But that's my granddaughter, Headmaster Worrell. Are you willing to side with the Dreamy and offend me? Angel questioned. Worrell took off his glasses and said calmly, as an academic, I don't understand the conflict between you and Delaney. But I'm on Bai Yunja's side this time, not any of you. Hearing this, Angel suddenly froze. He asked instinctively, what's so scary about Bai Yunj? Worrell looked at him deeply. She's the one you should be most afraid of. As a friend, I have to remind you not to provoke her. Otherwise, you will find that no one can help you when the time comes. After that, Worrell ordered them to leave. When they returned to the classroom, everyone realized that Lilia had really transferred schools. She was transferred to an aristocratic school that the Angel family had invested in. At the door, Wendy grabbed Lilia's hand in a sorry state. Yaya, can you bring me along? I've been expelled too. I don't know where to go. Lilia's face darkened as she flung her hand away, her eyes filled with disgust. Bring you along? Can you afford the tuition fees of an aristocratic university? Wendy's face turned pale. Just as Lilia was about to leave, Wendy gritted her teeth and said, but I can help you do anything. As long as you help me. Lilia suddenly stopped in her tracks, a dark look flashing across her eyes. P.S. Fourth update, I'm making up for it. Be obedient and vote more monthly to stabilize Master Pay's ranking. It's easy to drop in the first few days of the month. Old Sue will go and make up for it first. Thank you for your support. Chapter 841. Lilia's eyes were filled with resentment and indignation. She did not expect that Bai Yunj, who did not have any family backing him, could really make her drop out of school. Principal Worrell had even eliminated the Angel family's connections in Neely University. In the future, it would be even more difficult for the Angel family to do anything. She glanced at Wendy coldly and suddenly smiled. Sure, I'll pay for your tuition until you graduate. How about that? On the road, Bai Yunj looked at the computer in his hand again and held it in. You're really heavy, do you know that? With that, Bai Yunj realized that the system was installed in the computer and would not automatically turn on. He had to make it as soon as possible. No matter how much it cost. At this moment, Marcus called. Bai Yunj placed the laptop on the stone tiles of the flower bed. As soon as the call connected, he heard Marcus ask, have you tried the dual system outside? He had received several calls in the afternoon, all asking about the new product. The dual system was a project that Bai Yunj had been working on since his previous life. However, the original product was a dual system robot. The Y system was a normal system, but its level was beyond current scientific research. As for the G system, it was an in-depth model. Not only was it extremely private to the user, but some of its hidden functions were terrifying. Most importantly, the Gemini system could accurately recognize human emotions and language. Its imitation ability had reached the peak of artificial intelligence. Bai Yunj replied leisurely, it's too heavy. When can we get the materials? Marcus' eyelids twitched. Do you really want such good special materials? Bai Yunja's special materials to make a robot were hard to come by. Otherwise, if it breaks, we'll have to make another one. Bai Yunj added, it's very expensive. Marcus was speechless. Why didn't you consider the price when you were playing with more than 20 miniature pinhole cameras on the computer? Marcus put on a fake smile. But I think, with the cost of the materials you want, you can make dozens of robots for fun. Bai Yunj pretended not to hear her and asked again, when will it be available? Marcus. Wait for another 2 weeks. It will take time for their materials to be simulated to the standard you need. Bai Yunj replied, okay, I plan to let Higgins do the project. I'll go over to take a look in the next 2 days. All right. Marcus also knew that Bai Yunj was the heir of Higgins Group. He didn't forget to say, remember to prepare for the award ceremony the day after tomorrow. Yes. Higgins Group. Mai Weiyu walked into Shang Yan's office and threw the report on the table. Her eyes were filled with anger. Why aren't you willing to change this project? Shang Yan's tone was indifferent and natural. Only she has the final say in her project. Mai Weiyu pursed her red lips. Her eyes were filled with sarcasm as she laughed. An outsider wants to take down Higgins? Mai Weiyu was the illegitimate daughter of the second head of the Higgins family. She had only been recognized by the second head of the Higgins family 5 years ago because of her business and research abilities. However, her name had never been changed. Shang Yan, how do you think a young girl like her has the capital to fight against the people in the family? Mai Weiyu smiled and couldn't hide the jealousy in her tone. Or do you have other reasons for helping her? P.S. Fourth update. Chapter 842. It was as if he was born to be the center of attention. The smile on Bei Yunja's lips could not be hidden as she quickly ran towards him. Seeing this, Huashidu immediately reached out and held the young lady's shoulders. He let her hug his waist. The man looked down at her. His laughter was low and hoarse. It was so gentle and ambiguous that it made her blush and her heart race. Why are you running? You didn't bring an umbrella? Huashidu's slender and well-defined hand touched her black hair. It was a little wet. It's only a short distance from the airport. Hence, she did not have time to open an umbrella and ran over. The people not far away could not help but take a few more glances at the two of them. Indeed, the airport was a good place to torture single people. Huashidu glanced at her a few times, then watched as Bei Yunj suddenly took away his luggage. Her bright and beautiful eyes were a little serious. Brother, I'll help you carry it. But as soon as she finished speaking, it just so happened that not far away, someone rushed over recklessly. Huashidu's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He hugged the young lady's waist and easily turned his head to place her on the steps. Then, he took the luggage. Bei Yunj was like a human-shaped doll as she was carried to the side. Sir, I'm sorry. I was in a hurry and bumped into your girlfriend. That person apologized sincerely. The man glanced at Bei Yunj. Then, he turned his head and curled his lips casually. Okay, be careful next time. Bei Yunj, then. Before Bei Yunj could react, she had just raised her head when the light in front of her was blocked. Huashidu pulled down his scarf and slowly tied it around Bei Yunj. He stared at her for a while and suddenly bent down. Brother, take a look. The man's deep and magnetic voice was not serious. It was frivolous and gentle. Brother's little girlfriend, have you lost a little weight? She was surrounded by his warm and pleasant scent. The man's gaze was even more intense. Bei Yunja's ears instantly burned. She shrank into the scarf and turned her head away. Seeing this, Tian. Huashidu did not continue to tease the little girl and brought her back to the hotel. Brother, you're not going to meet old Mr. Fernandes? Bei Yunj asked. You've seen him? Huashidu asked. Bei Yunja's attention as she looked at the scenery outside. You'll see him sooner or later. The man's answer was not clear. Bei Yunj did not dwell on this question. Instead, she smelled the familiar and pleasant cold scent on the scarf and felt a little relieved unconsciously. Huashidu also noticed the redness in her eyes. Before Bei Yunj could react, the man's warm and dry palm covered her forehead and brought her to his side naturally. Sleep. I'll call you when we get there. Bei Yunj leaned against the man's leg and looked at Huashidu for a while before she turned away. Looking Huashidu still did not know what Bei Yunj was thinking. He quite liked the little girl's occasional actions. He only took a thin blanket to cover her and rubbed his fingers against her cheek affectionately. Good night, Yunyun. Just as they were about to get out of the car, Tseng Su received several messages, all of which were sent by that person. He did not know who had revealed that Master Du was coming to Nili. Tseng Su groaned in his heart. He only hoped that he would not bump into that young lady. Unexpectedly, he bumped into her the moment he got out of the car. Outside the hotel, there was a long corridor to shelter them from the rain. Where is Hwashidu? Lilia gritted her teeth and made up her mind to tell him about Bae Yunj. P.S. Master Pei, I came at a bad time. I can only feed you some dog food to express my sincerity. Thank you, darlings, for helping Master Pei maintain the monthly votes. Chapter 843. The moment Sing-Su got out of the car, he was blocked by Lilia. He immediately stopped Lilia. Miss, Master Du doesn't want to see anyone yet. Lilia pursed her lips and looked at Sing-Su coldly. Get out of the way. Miss, don't make things difficult for me. Sing-Su's tone was gentle, but he had no intention of letting her go. Seeing this, Lilia suddenly rushed to the back seat. But not long after, she was stopped again. You. Lilia was exasperated. Suddenly, the back door slowly opened. Lilia looked up and saw a handsome and dignified man walking out with his long, straight legs under his black suit pants. Before she could speak excitedly, the man turned around. His clear and lazy eyes were filled with gentleness and his thin red lips curled up. She saw with her own eyes that the man, who had always been indifferent and unapproachable, leaned forward and carefully held the young girl in his arms. It was as if he was hugging a precious treasure. Lilia's smile froze completely as her gaze landed on the person in his arms. Bae Yunj? Lilia's expression was ugly. She did not expect to see this scene with her own eyes one day. The man only glanced at her casually, his gaze never on her. Then, just as Hwashidu was about to leave, Lilia suddenly said, Hwashidu. This woman is not that simple. She clearly knows Delaney, and she even forced me to drop out of Neely University. Lilia gritted her teeth as she said the last sentence, her eyes dark and indignant. Hwashidu stopped in his tracks. Then, just as Lilia was overjoyed, she suddenly heard the girl's clear and lazy voice. Brother, have we arrived at the hotel? Bae Yunj leaned lazily against the man's chest, her beautiful eyes sleepy. Every time she leaned against him, she would fall asleep quickly. The quality of her sleep was very good. Yes, we're here. Do you want to sleep in the room for a while more? The man lowered his voice and laughed as he asked in her ear. However, the man's voice was magnetic and hopelessly sexy. Sing-Su, who was beside her, could not bear to watch this scene. He only pitied Lilia for a few seconds. Did he have to cause trouble when Master Du and young Miss Pei were together? What was the point? When Miss Pei was by Master Du's side, did Master Du have eyes for anyone else? Lilia's expression was extremely ugly. Subsequently, Bae Yunj also caught a glimpse of Lilia and raised her eyebrows. After the two of them looked at each other for a few seconds, Bae Yunj suddenly laughed. She lazily leaned against the man's chest, raised her fair and slender arms and hooked them around his neck. She gently raised her head and rubbed against the man's perfect jawline in an ambiguous and ticklish manner. It was a straightforward declaration of sovereignty. Brother, my waist hurts from being in the car for so long. Bae Yunja's red lips curved upwards. Her lazy voice was just the right amount of flirtatious. You have to help me rub it. It was so seductive that it made people's blood boil, their faces blushed and their hearts beat faster. At the same time, the man's eyes darkened. Even Sing-Su felt that this conversation made him blush. As expected. When Lilia thought of how an ascetic and noble man like Hwashidu would do such an outrageous thing in the car, her face turned pale. She gritted her teeth and looked at Bae Yunj. Bae Yunj was still careless as she drew circles on the man's chest with her fingertips. Brother, don't keep quiet. Who knew? The next moment, the man's eyes were so dark that they could not be seen clearly. He slowly swept his gaze over her. Sing-Su, just one room is enough. Bae Yunja's smile froze. P.S. When Master Du came out, our monthly votes started to drop. Don't you all like Master Du? The monthly votes ranking is dropping. Be good and work hard to send Master Pay to the front row. Pinch. The monthly votes reached 2,000 plus chapters. Because the management children were disobedient, they spent a few hundred monthly votes. Chapter 844. Sang-soo wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he turned around calmly. Yes. Bae-yeonj also looked at Sang-soo, but Sang-soo seemed to have eyes on the back of his head and immediately ran in. Bae-yeonj, Hwashidu, Bae-yeonj is already so good at seducing men at such a young age. Even Delaney. Lilia's face darkened as she spoke. Suddenly, the man's voice interrupted her. His pale-colored eyes lost their warmth, and his usually gentle and light voice was a little cold. Miss Angel, do you really think that the Angel family can protect you? Lilia froze. Hwashidu's meaning was obvious. If she continued, he would not give the Angel family any face. But this was all for a woman? Isn't it good for our two families to have a marriage alliance? Why did you choose such a flirtatious woman? How is she? Get lost. As soon as he finished speaking, Lilia could not react. Hwashidu was the one who said that. The man's peach blossom eyes, which used to be lazy and attractive, were now filled with coldness. His tone was flat and light. If you don't get lost, no one can save you. Even Bae-yeonj looked up at him. This was the first time she saw him really angry. The Hwa family's good upbringing made the man's every move seem refined and polite. She had never heard him say this word. As soon as he finished speaking, Lilia's expression did not look too good, but she did not dare to say anything. After all, even Fernand's went along with Hwashidu's temper. At this moment, Hwashidu carried the person in his arms and went straight to the top floor of the hotel. In the elevator, Bae-yeonj was silent for a moment. Brother, it's a little hot. There was a heater in the hotel. She was wrapped in a blanket and a scarf. Who knew? The man glanced at her casually. He seemed to have thought of something and his thin red lips suddenly curled up. His deep voice was a little charming as he said slowly, "What's the hurry? Go back to your room and take it off." Bae-yeonj, ? Wasn't there something wrong with his words? Hwashidu sensed the young lady's gaze and pretended not to see it. As the elevator approached the top floor, Bae-yeonj's heart inexplicably beat faster. She licked her lips. Brother, why don't I go back and get my own room? No need. Big brother will rub it for you when we get back. The handsome and noble man's smile was charming. His magnetic and lazy voice echoed in her ear, and it was so flirtatious that it was burning hot. Try your best to make our union comfortable. Bae-yeonj, in the presidential suite. The rain outside had also gradually stopped. From the top floor, one could see the scenery of the city outside the window. After watching for a while, Bae-yeonj turned around and saw the man taking off his suit jacket. Are you serious? Bae-yeonj looked at him for a while and narrowed her beautiful eyes. She suddenly smiled and said, Brother, you have to be gentle. Otherwise, you'll leave a mark. After that, Bae-yeonj really took off her windbreaker. Inside, she was wearing a spaghetti strap dress. Normally, Bae-yeonj would not dress like this when she went out. However, she had made it this morning, so she casually put on a khaki windbreaker. After taking off his coat, the girl had black hair and snow-white skin. The wine-red satin nightgown made her skin look as cold and fair as jade. Her calves were so fair that they were dazzling. A certain someone who was about to go to work, the man's gaze darkened silently. Then, Bae-yeonj even brushed her black hair aside, revealing her back. Her slender fingers caressed the zipper at the back of her dress. Brother, do you need me to open it? P.S. Master Pei, who can't take any provocation, is starting to cause trouble again. The monthly votes are 2,000. I'll add more later. Old Sue continued to write. Chapter 845. The girl's back was facing him. She turned her head halfway and brushed her black hair with one hand while her other slender and fair hand tried to pull down the zipper. Suddenly, the man lowered his eyes and restrained the dark emotions in his eyes. He was extremely tempted. His low and magnetic voice sounded casually. "Yin, if you take it off later, you might not have the strength to wear it." Instantly, these words made the girl's fair hands stop. Bei Yunji's clear and beautiful eyes stared straight at him. After a while, beside the sofa, Bei Yunj rested her chin on her arms and leaned against the sofa. Her bright eyes were lazy and it was obvious that she was extremely comfortable. However, the man was not that comfortable, especially when the softness in his hand made his Adam's apple tighten. Perhaps it was because it was comfortable, Hoshido could occasionally hear the girl's comfortable moans. The man's sexy Adam's apple bobbed, and even the mole that made people blush trembled slightly. He laughed hoarsely. "Is it that comfortable? Brother, use more strength." Bei Yunj was initially quite resistant, but when she really got started, her entire body softened and she instructed in a lazy tone. "Hoshido," he lowered his eyes and chuckled softly. He listened to her and used more strength. However, not long after, the girl turned back to look at him. "Brother, you can use more strength." Hoshido looked up and saw Bei Yunj looking at him seriously. She was so comfortable that her eyes were watery. However, the man's eyes darkened unconsciously. His eyes were so dark that they could not be seen clearly. Bei Yunj felt that the man's gaze was a little fixed, but her brain could not react for a moment. The next moment, she was about to ask. The man's warm palm wrapped around her slender waist. He did not increase his strength, but instead became even gentler. His slender and well-defined palm caressed every part of her waist, bringing about a tingling and numbing electric current. For some reason, the temperature was a little hot. It was so ambiguous that it made people blush. Bei Yunja's body trembled unconsciously. "Do you want me to use more strength?" The man's pair of usually lazy and cold peach blossom eyes revealed a hint of profoundness as he gloomily stared at her back. His tone still seemed to be indifferent. The strength on her waist was neither heavy nor light, but it was enough to make her legs go soft. Following that, it was a man's languid voice that revealed some kind of emotion. His low and hoarse chuckle was a little deep and blatantly seductive. "But what if she cries? What should we do?" Bei Yunj looked up and saw that the man's eyes were so dark that even the light could not be seen. Danger was lurking everywhere. However, the naughty and lustful feeling made her ears burn, and she subconsciously avoided his gaze. Suddenly, without thinking, Bei Yunj grabbed the man's hand to stop him from massaging her. However, the little deer in her heart had long panicked and was stumbling all over the place. The two of them looked at each other. The man's eyes were good-looking to begin with, and the corners of his upturned eyes were a little attractive. When he looked straight at her, it was as if he could transmit a kind of explicit and burning feeling, burning her heart. Soon, he lowered his eyes and suppressed some kind of emotion. His Adam's apple bobbed. "Child, don't look at me like that next time." Hoshido licked his lips and said in a low and sexy voice, "You'll be afraid." As soon as he finished speaking, Hoshido was about to leave, but the other fair and tender hand on his wrist did not let go. He looked at her for a while, and his low and magnetic laughter was a little hoarse and seductive. "You really don't want me to leave?" Chapter 846. Before Bei Yunj could speak, the man leaned forward. The man suddenly leaned forward and Bei Yunj instinctively placed a hand on his firm chest. However, she could feel his scorching body temperature and beating heart under the man's thin white shirt. She looked up and met his unwavering gaze. She could see the lazy smile in his dark eyes. It was explicit and passionate. Bei Yunj froze as if she had been scalded. She instinctively wanted to retract her hand, but the man casually grabbed the back of her hand. Hoshido's peach blossom eyes were slightly raised and the coldness in them dissipated. His lazy posture was ostentatious and ambiguous, and the corners of his lips curled into a cynical smile. "Brother, you," before she could finish speaking. The next moment, the man turned over her white and tender palm. His warm and cool fingertips rubbed her fingers from time to time, making her heart itch and numb. Suddenly, he bent down slightly. His thin lips gently kissed her palm. Suddenly, the warm touch on her palm, accompanied by a numbing feeling, shot straight up to the back of her neck. Her ears were burning hot. Even her mind was empty. A simple palm kiss made her blush. It was so tempting that her legs turned weak. However, the man was still smiling seductively. His magnetic voice was bewitching, low, and hoarse with some kind of uncontrollable desire. He was asking her for help. "Yun, I want to feel more comfortable too. What should I do?" In an instant, Bei Yunj woke up. Her heart was beating unbelievably fast. She immediately withdrew her hand and got off the sofa. She looked like she was fleeing. In the man's eyes, the little girl looked like she was about to explode. Hwashidu did not go to the study to work. Instead, he went to take an hour-long cold shower. After returning to the room, Bei Yunj could not get rid of the plot in her mind. She did not know why, but every time she was in Hwashidu's hands, she would run away. This also made Bei Yunj feel embarrassed for the first time. Coincidentally, at this moment, her cell phone rang. Bei Yunj glanced at it and calmed down before answering the call. "Go, there will be a gathering after the award ceremony tomorrow. Do you want to?" "I'm not going." Bei Yunj refused simply. Si Qingyan was speechless. Why did the old man always give him such hard work? "Where's Mr. Zhong?" Bei Yunj suddenly remembered that she hadn't seen Zhong Xinglin recently. When Si Qingyan heard this, he immediately smiled mysteriously. "Do you know? Elder Zhong, Dean Zhou, and Stephen were taken by Marcus for a hair transplant." "Bei Yunj, what kind of messy team-building project was this?" "You'll see it tomorrow." "Don't expose her," Si Qingyan reminded. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. "Sure." Afternoon. When she went out, Bei Yunj found more than 20 sets of clothes on the sofa, all of which were brands she usually wore. "Qin Yu called and asked me to take you to dinner." Hwashida glanced at Bei Yunj, who had just come out of the bedroom, and said. Bei Yunj looked at the calm Hwashidu and raised an eyebrow. "Okay. Soon." After she changed her clothes and followed Hwashidu downstairs, she turned around and accidentally touched the man's hand. Only then did she feel that his temperature was a little too cold. "Brother, why are you so cold?" Bei Yunj asked without thinking. Hearing this, the man glanced at the instigator carelessly and licked his itchy teeth. He chuckled. "Otherwise, why would I take you out?" P.S. Additional monthly votes added chapter. Thank you for helping Master Pay. The monthly votes ranking is still unstable. Are there any children who can move their fingers? Pinch. Old Sue continued to update. Chapter 847. At first, Bei Yunj did not react. But when she realized what was going on, she froze. So, just now, he had a physiological reaction, so he went to take a cold shower? Bei Yunj thought of the temperature of the man's hand when she touched it just now. It was cold. It did not seem like he had only taken a shower for a while. Bei Yunj looked at the man's handsome side profile for a while. For some reason, her heart beat erratically. She slowly took a step to the side. Hwashidu, who saw this scene, was speechless. After a while, Hwashidu was a little angry and laughed out loud. Then, he laughed in a low and sexy voice. "Child, where did I find such a heartless person like you?" Bei Yunj did not speak. Soon, the two of them got out of the elevator. Hwashidu had just walked out when he saw Bei Yunj running out. He thought that the little girl was shy. But not long after, Sing Su asked in confusion, "Master Du, where is Miss Pei? Shouldn't the two of them come down together?" After asking, Tsing-su felt that something was wrong again, so he looked at Hwashidu with a meaningful gaze. Could it be that Miss Pei did not have the strength to get up? Soon, Hwashidu's unhurried gaze swept past him coldly. Tsing-su stopped imagining things obediently. Wait for her to come back. Hwashidu stood in the hall. He was wearing an exquisite black suit and a black and gray windbreaker, making him look tall and slender. The corners of his upturned eyes were charming, and his pale-colored pupils were light and lazy. About 10 minutes later, Hwashidu saw a figure walking over from the door. Bei Yunj was wearing a black hat and mask. She was holding a transparent plastic bag and waving at them. Let's go. Hwashidu smiled. After getting into the car, the man had just sat in the back seat when the little girl beside him started to open the plastic bag. What is this? Hwashidu asked. Bei Yunj answered him leisurely as she tore it open. Your little heartless girl bought you a thermal pad. Soon, Bei Yunj warmed up a thermal pad and turned her head naturally. She pulled open the man's windbreaker and unbuttoned his suit jacket. But she didn't notice that the man's eyes were unfathomable, staring straight at her. If you stick it here, you shouldn't get burned. Bei Yunj muttered to himself. Hwashidu allowed the young lady in front of him to touch him. However, not long after, Bei Yunj inadvertently touched the man's tight and sexy abs. They were hard and firm. After a few seconds, Bei Yunj realized what it was. But soon after, a hint of interest flashed through her bright and beautiful eyes. Just as she was about to touch it again, Yi Zichen stopped her. The man's indifferent and deep voice seemed to be deliberately teasing her eardrums. Yun Yun, there's no way to take a cold shower in the car. After saying this, Bei Yunj immediately stopped. She glanced at the lazy and handsome man and finished pasting the last one on him. Obviously, she didn't want to talk to him anymore. But in the next moment, Bei Yunj was about to retract her hand when the man grabbed her wrist again. She looked up and saw the man's slender and well-defined hand casually picking open his windbreaker and suit jacket. He placed her hand on the spot that Bei Yunj wanted to touch just now. Even through the thin white shirt, the touch still made her blush and her heart race. Didn't you say that you won't let me touch you? Seeing that the little girl beside him was still pretending to be obedient after taking advantage of him, the man couldn't help but chuckle hoarsely. P.S. Alright, now that Master Du has appeared, our monthly votes are really getting fewer and fewer. The old man shouldn't have appeared. Chapter 848. His lazy and magnetic voice was ostentatious and straightforward, as if he was blatantly seducing her. How can I let our union bear a grudge? Next time, if brother is cold, who will buy the thermal pads for brother? Hwashidu was still holding her hand, afraid that the thermal pads on his suit jacket would be too hot. Bei Yunja's face inexplicably heated up, but she could not retract her hand. But on the way, Bei Yunja's mind was filled with Hwashidu holding her hand and she could not ignore the warmth on her hand. The man's ambiguous low laughter made people blush. Isn't Big Brother's hand hotter than Yunyun's? Bei Yunja's ears instantly burned and she froze a little. Who could stand this D*MN man's unrestrained flirting? It was clearly an emotionless sentence, but when it came out of his mouth, it could instantly make one's hair stand on end. After parking the car, Bei Yunj quickly broke free from the man's hand and got out of the car first. Seeing this, Hwashidu only smirked, his fingers caressing the thermal pads the little girl had just bought for him. Soon, Hwashidu and Bei Yunj saw Qin Yu with several staff members following behind him. Go, Master Du. With that said, Qin Yu reached out and hugged Bei Yunj. Baby, are you cold? Why don't you answer second brother's calls? This scene made Hwashidu's gaze land on him carelessly. It was a little dark and unreadable. I'm not cold. Bei Yunj wanted to break free, but Qin Yu hugged her too tightly. Qin Yu, someone is calling you. The man on the side said unhurriedly. Hearing this, Qin Yu let go of Bei Yunj carelessly. Bei Yunj slipped behind Hwashidu and held the man's sleeve with one hand. Chin did not see anyone, but when he turned around, he saw this situation. He seemed to be the outsider. Chin looked at Hwashidu instinctively, only to see him looking at him carelessly with a faint smile in his eyes. It seemed to be a provocation. Chin was speechless. "Let's eat, let's go eat first." In the end, the manager, who knew how to read people's expressions, immediately broke the stiff atmosphere. On the way, Chin walked beside Hwashidu and glanced at Hwashidu's thin windbreaker. He was only wearing a suit inside and could not help asking, "Is this windbreaker so good at blocking the wind?" Hwashidu replied calmly, "It's all right." Chin was wearing a low-collared sweater and couldn't help but shrink his neck. "Then aren't you cold?" Hwashidu slowly lifted his suit jacket, revealing the unqualified thermal pads. "It's all right. It's quite warm." His tone was calm and composed, but it gave people a feeling that he was showing off. "Bei Yunj," Chin was curious. "You use such a thing too?" "Yes." After Hwashidu finished speaking, he casually glanced at the young lady beside him. Suddenly, his thin lips curled up and his voice was deep and happy. "I quite like it." Chin even snorted, a sneer appearing on his handsome and superior face. He then gestured for Hwashidu to look at his torn jeans. His low voice was filled with confidence. "Master Du, what's the matter with you? You're even using thermal pads in this weather?" "Who knew?" The man smirked, his tone light and flirtatious. Someone's heart aches for you." Bei Yunja's back froze immediately. However, Chin had yet to react. What did this mean? "What do you mean?" Chin asked instinctively. On the other hand, the most silent manager at the side seemed to have suddenly understood. He looked at Bei Yunj, who had a slightly strange expression on his face. "P.S. I'm dealing with the infringement of this book. I'm sorry that I'm not in a good state and wrote slowly. I'll ask for some monthly votes for master pay first. I'll see if I can continue writing." Chapter 849. Then, the manager could not help but turn back to look at Hwashidu, a bold thought appearing in his mind. His eyes widened as his thoughts drifted away in disbelief. Especially when he saw that Chin was still clueless, the manager had mixed feelings. Should I give this guy a warning? However, this person always mocked him for being short. Was he letting himself down by doing this? The manager was hesitant. In the dining room, seeing Hwashidu and Bei Yunj sitting opposite each other naturally, the manager could not help but look at Chin. "Chow Hung, come, eat more." Sitting in his seat, Chin handed the curry prawns to the manager. Then, just as the manager was very touched and was about to tell Chin secretly, he heard Chin laugh. "I hope you can still grow taller. Don't keep making people think that I'm using child labor." Chow Hung was speechless. King deserved to have your sister snatched away. Chow Hung took the plate of curry prawns expressionlessly and said nothing. When they were about to finish eating, Bei Yunj received a call from Marcus. "Hello? Do you want to?" Before Marcus could finish speaking, Bei Yunj rejected him politely. "Thank you, but I don't plan to do it yet." Then, Marcus, who had been hung up by Bei Yunj, was speechless. Which little brat went out to spout nonsense again? Soon, Bei Yunj received another message from Marcus. This was to ask Bei Yunj to send them an address. The people from Country A would come and pick her up in the afternoon to protect Bei Yunja's safety tomorrow. A dark look flashed past Bei Yunja's eyes and she glanced at Hwashidu. In that case, she could not stay with him. Bei Yunj licked her lips and said nothing. It was only after lunch that Hwashidu walked to his side when he was about to go to the nearby building to work. "Brother, today Bei Yunja's eyes landed not far away. "I want to stay with my second brother." With that said, Bei Yunj did not notice anything, but the man's eyes darkened imperceptibly. Yes. After all, he was the child's biological brother, so he had no right to stop him. Hwashidu bade farewell to the young lady and returned to the car. His slender fingers opened the cigarette box and lit a cigarette. A pair of pale-colored, ascetic eyes were filled with laziness and alienation. Master Du, let's go, Dijo Tower. The moment Washidu finished speaking, a hint of surprise flashed across Tsing Su's eyes. He wanted to say something but hesitated. Yes, Tsing Su replied. At the filming location. Everyone was very surprised to see Qin Yu with a young girl. Wasn't this girl too beautiful? Only Qin Yu's assistant recognized her. This was Brother Yu's biological sister, the eldest daughter of the Qin family, Bei Yunj. Miss Pei. The little assistant hurried forward to greet him. Yes. Bei Yunj responded and glanced at the gloomy castle. Why did he choose such a place to shoot a music video? All of a sudden. Did you guys prepare anything for our sister Ran? The waist of this dress is so thin, who can wear it? A female assistant walked out and questioned arrogantly, do you not want to work anymore? This dress was prepared for the female lead of Qin Yu's music video, Han Yu. Han Yu was not considered popular and was at most a B-list actress. However, her sugar daddy was willing to spend money on her. Hence, Yang Xian, who was in charge of the company, turned a blind eye and arranged for her to be the female lead for Qin Yu. P.S. Will continue in the afternoon. Good night. Chapter 850. Qin Yu did not care about this and had already gone to check the set equipment. After that, the assistant glanced at Bei Yunj and her expression darkened. What do you mean? Did you choose a female lead? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Beside her, Qin Yu's assistant took a deep breath and said with a smile, no, Sister Wen, you're thinking too much. This is Brother Yu's woman. How would Qin Yu's assistant dare to let Sister Wen know that Bei Yunj was Qin Yu's sister? During this period of time, hadn't there been a lot of trending searches about them kidnapping Qin Yu? If she found out that Bei Yunj was Qin Yu's sister, she might be caught talking to Bei Yunj the next day. At that time, the headlines would be, #Han Yu and Qin Yu's sister have a harmonious relationship #Han Yu is suspected to have been acknowledged by Best Actor Qin's sister #. Can't you turn on more lights? Bei Yunj glanced at the darkness around her and pretended not to hear Sister Wen's words as she asked in return. Young lady, there are a lot of lights here. Come and sit here. The MV director suddenly waved at Bei Yunj excitedly, his eyes shining. The assistant was speechless. Another person who wanted to lure Miss Pei into the industry. Bei Yunj hesitated for a moment before walking over. Just as expected. The director immediately asked, young lady, have you considered developing in the entertainment industry? Bei Yunj said calmly, no. The director was speechless. This was his first time meeting someone who rejected him so directly. It's all right. This is my business card. You can contact me when you've thought it through. The director handed his business card to Bei Yunj. The assistant was speechless. If Bei Yunj wanted to debut, she still had to rely on him. Qin Yu could bring this elder young lady to work every day, all right? However, seeing this, Sister Wen's expression darkened. Pursing her lips, she took the dress back. On the other side, a beautiful woman was lying on the bench. Yu, those people don't take us seriously at all. Sister Wen was indignant. No one said that they would change our dresses. Besides, Best Actor Qin even brought a young and beautiful woman here. His girlfriend? Han Yu's eyes darkened. Who knows? Sister Wen sneered, Film Emperor Qin is also the son of a rich family. Must the person by his side be his girlfriend? But I've heard before that Film Emperor Qin's private life is very disciplined. Now I see that it's all a lie. Give me the dress. Han Yi reached out and took the dress that Sister Wen handed over. A glint flashed across his eyes. Accompany me to change my clothes. I need to put on my makeup later. Yu, aren't you angry? Sister Wen asked. What's there to be angry about? Let's go see her later. Han Yu stood up and went to the changing room. She was just a little girl. Was it that difficult to deal with her? Han Yu's eyes were filled with mockery and indifference. Not long after, Bai Yunj saw a woman in a gorgeous long dress walking over. But soon, Bai Yunj looked away and continued to play on the maps of the gods. But when Han Yu saw this, her exquisite face revealed a trace of collapse. She knew that Qin Yu's taste would not be too bad. However, the young girl in front of him was so beautiful that her eyes were aggressive, making him fall into a trance. But her attitude was unbelievably cold. Han Yu pursed her lips, feeling a little uncomfortable as she sat at the side. Wen, get me some water. At this moment, the makeup artist beside Han Yu was still helping her put on makeup. But in the next moment, Han Yu asked Bai Yunj, "Miss next to me, do you have time to do me a favor? I can't move. Can you help me get my shoes? P.S. Here it comes, good guys. Thank you, children, for helping Master Pei get first place in the monthly votes ranking for now. If you work hard, can Master Pei get first place this month? Pinch." Chapter 851. With that said, Qin Yu's assistant knew that things were not that simple. To put it bluntly, wasn't she asking Bai Yunj to carry her shoes for her? Qin Yu's assistant smiled and stood up immediately. "Sister Yu, let me get it for you." Who knew? The manager beside Han Yu suddenly stopped her. "Huang Ku, your best actor Qin's woman. If you take care of Sister Yu, others will think too much." Huang Ku's expression darkened immediately. If Bai Yunj did that, Qin Yu would tear Han Yu apart. At this thought, Huang Ku was about to speak when Han Yu suddenly laughed. "I'm Qin Yu's female lead. No matter what, I'm still his colleague. Miss, is it difficult to help me carry my shoes?" These words were a blatant and high-profile threat. Most people would not dare to humiliate Qin Yu's people like this, but she just wanted this person to know her place and not have wishful thinking about rising to the top. Then, before Huang Ku could speak, Bai Yunj, who was beside her, stood up and slowly walked to the shoe box. "Is it this pair?" Han Yu sneered and closed her eyes without saying anything. As if she had vented her anger, Sister Wen immediately said, "Yes, those are our Sister Yu's favorite shoes." "You," before she could finish speaking. Suddenly, the shoe box slammed into the cabinet next to it, scaring the makeup artist so much that her hand trembled as she applied her eyeliner. It made Han Yu's face crooked. Han Yu's foot was hit by something and her expression changed in fright. When she opened her eyes again, it was her favorite pair of shoes that had rolled on the ground. Some of the paint had been rubbed off. Instantly, Han Yu's expression darkened and she pushed away the makeup artist who was about to apologize. She looked at Bai Yunj darkly. Bai Yunj's beautiful eyes curved, exuding a faint ruthlessness. She stirred up trouble calmly and sneered unruly. "Don't play tricks with me. Otherwise, it won't be this pair of shoes rolling on the ground next time." Huang Ku inexplicably felt that Brother Yu's sister was the real master. Her aura was too strong. Han Yu was about to stand up and rush over to slap Bai Yunj. Then, she saw Qin Yu walking over. Han Yu immediately changed her expression. "Film Emperor Qin, why did you hang up when I called you?" The moment Qin Yu came over, he asked Bai Yunj intimately. Bai Yunj said leisurely, "Bring Xiaoka up." Huang Ku instantly felt guilty and did not dare to look at Qin Yu. Qin Yu also glanced at his assistant faintly, feeling extremely unhappy. Then, his gaze finally landed on Han Yu. Without waiting for Han Yu to speak, he frowned and said, "Yang Xian really dares to push anyone to me." The air became strangely cold. Everyone could hear the disdain in Qin Yu's words. Sister Ran covered her crooked eyeliner with an ugly expression. Sister Wen complained, "Brother Yu, it was this young lady beside you who deliberately hit Sister Rong with her shoe. That's why Sister Rong didn't put on her makeup properly." Hearing this, Qin Yu sneered and asked in return, "Why didn't my hit me when she hit her. Everyone, this sentence sounded very domineering. If this was outside, Chin-yu might be harmed. However, Han-yu and the rest were so angry that their faces contorted. Chin-yu, what do you mean? Han-yu gritted her teeth. A mocking look appeared in Chin-yu's dark eyes. If Miss isn't willing to film, you can leave now. My studio will bear the expenses on the way. This made Han-yu even angrier. Otherwise, this song was written by Yun and would definitely become popular in the future. She would definitely quit and leave. P.S. There are 2 more updates. Chapter 852. She pursed her lips, her beautiful eyes filled with hatred as she glanced at Bae Yunj. Yes, best actor Chin, don't be angry. We can start filming immediately. Seeing that something was wrong, the manager immediately pulled Han-yu aside and brought her to the side to redo her makeup. After that, Chin-yu frowned. Gu, did she bully you? Huang Ku was speechless. He really did not know his sister at all. No one can bully me. Bae Yunj said slowly. If Gu doesn't like her, second brother will change her immediately. Chin-yu's dark eyes were serious. He could not bear to see Bae Yunj suffer. No need. Hurry up and film. With that said, Bae Yunj returned to the side. However, after a few solo matches, she could not help but frown. Why were they all at this level? The game ended before she had her fun. A thought suddenly flashed across Bae Yunja's mind and her lips curled up. Soon. Delaney's cousin, Vic, received a message from the big boss who had always been very cold to him. Are you there? Are you giving me a chance to earn money? Seeing this message, Vic almost rolled off the sofa. Vic's hands were soft, especially when he thought of the cost of this big boss repairing the bugs in the maps of the gods previously. His corporation was still small, unlike Delaney's corporation, which could not afford to support a big boss. Vic was afraid of offending Bae Yunj, but he had no choice but to reply. Vic, thank you, Miss Pei, for remembering our company. But our company has no bugs anymore. How about I be your professional player's sparring partner? How about I don't charge you if you lose? How about 100,000 yuan if you win a round, according to your exchange rate? Seeing this, Vic was suddenly tempted. It was only 100,000 yuan per round. How many rounds could they lose? Besides, although Bae Yunj was good at computer skills, his family was raising professional players after all. They wouldn't lose too much, right? At this thought, Vic suddenly felt that Bae Yunj seemed to want to be a human today. He replied immediately. Vic, sure. Vic, I'll arrange it for you right away, soon. The team of professional players that Vic had arranged all sat on the gaming chairs with confusion. The club owner said that the big boss had spent a lot of money to find a sparring partner for them. But they couldn't lose. If they lost too many times, they wouldn't get a year-end bonus. Someone sneered, worried that we'll lose? Is the sparring partner next door Qin Lang? He's so good. That's right. I've only lost to Qin Lang from country A, TSK. I heard that if we lose a round, the boss has to pay 100,000. Since that person is so good, why don't you invite her to be a professional player? Isn't the boss a little too generous to his sparring partner? The few of them went online angrily and searched for the account number given by the boss. Finally, a user popped up. Earn 100 million first. The pro players, how arrogant. Not far away, Bae Yunj was playing with her laptop. She adjusted the voice changer and asked calmly, who's first? Very soon. I'll go first. One of the youths, who had a pretty good solo performance, opened his mouth, wanting to dampen this guy's spirit. At this moment, the training screen was also split and transferred to Vic. Bae Yunj licked her lips and chuckled. Sure. However, just as everyone was full of confidence and prepared to let this sparring partner know that there was a difference between professional players and amateurs, the confident smiles on their faces gradually stiffened. In about 3 minutes, their teammates' HP was already half gone. Chapter 853. In less than 6 minutes, the solo match was over. The team members froze. This was a sparring partner worth 100,000 yuan per round? Vic, who was looking at the split screen, was the most disappointed. It hadn't even been 10 minutes and they were defeated? Soon, the other party said calmly, although you can earn money quickly this way, I hope you can be more serious and continue. The team members were speechless. Soon, the second team member started again. However, this time, the team member was obviously not as arrogant and perfunctory as the last time. He played very seriously. However, 8 minutes later, he still lost, so, until now. The team members realized that the Waterloo of their lives was not Qin Lang, but this sparring partner who had earned 100 million yuan first. In E.G. Corporation's building, Vic was about to kill someone. 200,000 yuan. In less than half an hour, 200,000 yuan is gone. Did you see that? Vic was about to break down. The assistant said carefully. But boss, according to Miss Pei's speed, isn't she sure to make a profit? Vic could not keep a straight face. This was a game he made. His professional team was always second place. Now that he hired a sparring partner, they could not even defeat one person. Were they a bunch of useless people? Call them and tell them about the club. If anyone can't even last 10 minutes under her hands, they will be fined. The assistant quickly replied and sent a message to the club owner. After the club owner told the team members were even more stressed. 10 minutes, the longest time they lasted in a team of 7 was 12 minutes. And it was their captain. The team members felt that this person in front of them was even scarier than Qin Lang from Country A. Why was she a sparring partner at this level? Soon, someone asked. Coach. With your level, why don't you become a professional player? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and adjusted her earpiece. I only earn quick money. I don't have time. The team members were speechless. What a simple and unpretentious big boss. Hurry up. I only charged 15 yuan at the internet cafe. There are still 4 hours. Bei Yunj looked at the time. The team members were speechless. She was using the lousy equipment of the internet cafe to fight them? They thought that this big boss should be using some top-notch equipment. In the end, it was just an internet cafe that cost 3 yuan an hour. Even so, not many of them could last more than 10 minutes against her. At the filming location. Sister Ran, don't be angry. I've checked, and no one knows that little girl. Sister Wen walked over happily. Han Yu pursed her lips and a trace of unwillingness flashed past her eyes. With Qin Yu around, I can't do anything to her. Who said that? Sister Wen walked over and handed the phone to Han Yu. This is? Han Yu was surprised. This was a photo of her and Bei Yunj. Because of the angle, it looked like they were quarreling. I've already asked a professional fan to send this photo to your fan club. A smug and happy look flashed across Sister Wen's eyes. Sister Wen, didn't you arrange for 20 fans to come to Neely? This time, isn't that girl dead for sure? Han Yu had a sugar daddy and was very generous to her fans. Some time ago, she had given her fans more than 20 plane tickets and hotel coupons. During this period of time, those fans had also been outside taking photos of Han Yu. Now that they saw Han Yu being bullied, how could those fans not explode? Chapter 854. Won't anything happen if I arrange for them? Han Yu looked at herself in the dressing mirror and raised her eyebrows. With this photo, if you get those marketing accounts to help repost it and set the pace, others will only feel sorry for you. The manager was experienced and sneered. It's been so many years. Has the public's pity for the weak ever changed? Even if the fans mess around again, as long as you apologize casually, they won't have anything to say. Han Yu was silent for a moment, as if she agreed. Then, she asked, where is she? She should be back soon. I heard Huang Ku on the phone just now. I think she said she'll be back in 10 minutes. Sister Wen immediately said. Then, she said, Sister Ran, your fan club will take at most half an hour. Han Yu's lips curled up slightly. There was mockery in her eyes and a smile in her voice. Then don't let my fans make a wasted trip. Don't worry. Once that girl returns, I'll inform the fan club. Sister Wen was very confident. At this moment, Bai Yunj also left the internet cafe. After playing for an entire afternoon, she had earned nearly 3 million yuan. As for the professional players who had been ravaged for an entire afternoon, they were beginning to doubt if they were still suitable for the professional path. And Vic, who was far away in EG Corporation. Vic's mentality was already broken. He spent 2.6 million yuan in one afternoon. He thought that Bai Yunj had suddenly become a human, but he did not expect her to trick him. Vic took a deep breath and asked with his eyes closed, Isn't she a computer science major? Isn't she in scientific research? How can she even play games like this? There was still a difference between playing games and studying computers, right? The little secretary was silent for a moment before she immediately smiled comfortingly. Boss, there's a saying in country A, there's no harm in having more skills. Look, even though Miss Pei is a computer science major, it didn't stop her from winning the Farisk Prize. Wake's face cracked in an instant. How did this person's brain work? Was she God's biological daughter? Vic could not help but take another deep breath and gritted his teeth. Let those guys practice again. If they make me spend so much money again, I'll teach them a lesson. How could a few million yuan for an afternoon of sparring be wasted so easily? If they did not win the championship, they should be cut into pieces. At this moment, Bai Yunj also returned to the set. Bai Yunj looked at the message that the bank card had been transferred to her account. After thinking for a while, she sent a thank you message to Vic. But this time, Vic didn't reply to her as quickly as before. However, a few minutes later, he sent a white Garfield crying emoji. Bai Yunj, 10 minutes later. Bai Yunj suddenly saw someone hurrying in and out with a group of people. Everyone had a serious look on their faces. It was as if he was going to settle some important matter. She couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. Soon, Bai Yunj grabbed Huang Ku, who came back and went out anxiously. Miss Pei, I'll play with you next time. I really have something urgent to attend to this time. Huang Ku was on the verge of tears. What happened? Bai Yunj asked lazily as she tugged on the long rabbit ears on Huang Kuyan's hood. She didn't loosen her grip. Huang Ku looked into Bai Yunj's eyes and didn't know how to lie. She could only lower her head and mumble, Miss Pei, you can just ask brother Yu to settle this matter. Bai Yunj had a feeling that this matter had something to do with her. She licked her lips and chuckled. In the next moment, she stood up and prepared to leave. P.S. Be good and remember the monthly votes. Chapter 855. When Huang Ku saw this, she immediately panicked. She immediately went forward and hugged Bai Yunj, refusing to let her go. Miss Pei, please don't go. The fans outside have gone crazy. Bai Yunj, not long after. Bai Yunj slowly pried her fingers away. Let go first. Huang Ku didn't dare to be too presumptuous and carefully let go. Tell me, what's going on with the fans outside? Bai Yunj glanced at the door casually. Huang Ku knew that she couldn't hide it, so she could only tell her in detail. We don't know why so many of Han Yu's fans appeared. They even said that they wanted to stop you. They said that you bullied Han Yu and they wanted to stand up for her. They even asked you to apologize. Bai Yunj raised her eyebrows. But there's definitely something wrong with the number of fans they have. Even brother Yu didn't have more than 10 fans visiting him today. Huang Ku immediately said. After all, they were overseas. How could there be so many fans chasing after them? She wasn't Yu Manran. Her works were best-selling overseas. Miss Pei, please don't go out first. Just as Huang Ku finished speaking, there was a sudden loud commotion at the door. Then, two people walked in with a female employee. Her forehead was bleeding. What's going on? Huang Ku asked anxiously. Stop talking. Those fans can't enter, so they started to barge in. I don't know which immoral person threw stones randomly and injured her. The colleague said angrily, hurry up, send Xiao Yun to the hospital. It was a mess inside and outside. A cold look flashed across Bei Yunji's beautiful eyes. She walked to Han Yu's side. Without waiting for anyone to react, she slammed the half-empty bottle of mineral water in her hand on the table. That bang was enough to make people's hearts tremble. Aren't you going to care about your fans? Bei Yunji's words were concise and comprehensive. She just stood in front of her. Her beautiful eyes were cold and she seemed to be smiling. Han Yu and the others were shocked. Then, they forced themselves to calm down. I don't know what's going on either. Han Yu forced herself to calm down. Sister Wen spoke again, yes, it's not convenient for you. Bei Yunji's guess was confirmed when she heard this. This matter was done by these few people. Pretty good. Bei Yunji looked at them for a while, then suddenly sneered and said leisurely, it's not convenient, is it? There's a good place for you later. After saying this, Bei Yunji left. The three people in the arena felt an inexplicable lingering fear when they thought of the aura Bei Yunji had exuded when he walked over. This girl's aura was too terrifying. What does she mean by that? The manager frowned. He had a bad premonition. Sister Wen snorted. She probably thought that everything would be fine with Qin Yu around. She might not know that 8 out of 10 of these fans are Qin Yu and Yu's CP fans. Now that they had met the person who had torn apart their ship, how could their attitude be good? Perhaps, the more Qin Yu protected her, the more excited those fans would be. A cold glint flashed across Han Yu's eyes as the corners of her lips curled up slightly. She dared to embarrass her. This was what that girl deserved. Bei Yunji walked in the castle and looked at the group of fans on the first floor who were still throwing rotten eggs at people. After a while, the call in her hand went through. Pei, what's wrong? It was Lu Zhongzhou's voice. You can come and pick me up now. Bei Yunji's lips curled up into a lazy smile. Bring some people along. Someone is causing trouble here and I can't go out. P.S. The QQ reading event this week has started. If you're interested, you can look at the top. Chapter 856. Cause trouble? Lu Zhongzhou frowned and immediately said, okay, I understand. Don't move around and stay in a safe place. God Tan and I will be there soon. Bei Yunji hummed in response. Soon. Bei Yunji saw the director and Qin Yu coming downstairs with dark expressions. It was obvious that they knew about this. How dare they block my sister? Who gave them the guts? Qin Yu's low and cold voice was filled with coldness. However, at this moment, Han Yu and the rest were about to leave and were standing at the door. Qin Yu had already arranged for bodyguards and his handsome face was dark. Qin Yu, it's not suitable for you to stand up for this matter. Someone from my company said that Han Yu and the rest are already leading the charge in the country. They said that your people are deliberately embarrassing Han Yu and bullying her because she's a newbie. The director stopped Qin Yu, who wanted to go out. Qin Yu's ink-like eyes were filled with ruthlessness. His thin lips curled up slightly, full of sarcasm. His long legs kicked over the chair in front of him. The commotion was so loud that it was scary. His usually low and indifferent voice was filled with bone-chilling coldness as he sneered. Bully her? How long does she think she can stay in the industry if she plays this game with me? Qin Yu had never cared much about female celebrities who tried to climb up the ranks and deliberately create hype. However, this time, it was obvious that she had crossed Qin Yu's bottom line. With that said, Qin Yu turned around and saw Bei Yunji. Guilt rose in his heart. If it wasn't for him, wouldn't have been targeted. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. I got my friend to pick me up. Don't worry. No, how can your friend protect you? Qin Yu frowned and immediately grabbed Bei Yunj's wrist. You have to follow behind me later. This was very risky. After all, to Qin Yu, this face was very important. However, as long as Bei Yunj asked, he could even give her his life. I said, there's no need. Bei Yunj broke free from Qin Yu. Seeing that Qin Yu's eyes were dazed, they slowly darkened. She pursed her lips and was silent for a long time. I'm sorry. Even if she didn't snatch this body, this kinship still didn't belong to her. She could take care of the people she cared about for the original owner, but she couldn't touch the original owner's family. Not to mention letting Qin Yu take the risk for her. Qin Yu licked his red lips. After thinking for a moment, he lowered his head and coaxed her softly, just listen to second brother, okay? Second brother, I beg you. I'm not trying to restrict your freedom, I'm just worried that you won't be safe. When the others saw this scene, they were all stunned. Second brother? Was this Qin Yu's precious sister? She had long heard that Qin Yu doted on his biological sister, but she did not expect it to be to this extent. They had never heard Qin Yu speak to anyone in such a pleading tone. Bei Yunj pursed her lips. After a long while, her phone vibrated. Her eyes darkened. Come with me then, but I have something to do, so I can't stay at your place. Hearing this. Before Qin Yu could speak, he saw Bei Yunj walk forward. He could only follow closely behind. At this moment, Han Yu, who was outside, had not left. The nanny van was also watching the commotion not far away. The fans at the door were at their peak and were ready to smash the car later. It didn't matter if that vixen would be sitting in Qin Yu's car or not. However, what they didn't expect was that a car really did stop at the entrance. It was a long military green car. Soon, more than a dozen people wearing two types of military green combat uniforms came out from inside. One of the teams was even wearing bulletproof vests. All of them looked well-trained and muscular. They were holding long black wooden guns. P.S. Good night, be good and remember the monthly votes. Help Master Pei get on the rankings? Pinch. The weekly ranking event was pinned at the top of the QQ book review section. There were snacks around that were specially prepared by the management ladies. Chapter 857. The two men in front had hawk-like eyes as they pursed their thin lips and walked towards the door. The members of the two teams automatically formed two rows and blocked a path, giving off a solemn feeling. Soon, the things that the group of fans wanted to smash the car fell heavily to the ground and their bodies went weak. Who dared to do this? It was illegal to attack the army. They were only fans and had never seen the world. They could see superstars being escorted by more than 10 bodyguards, but these were people from the country. Before they could react, the people they had seen in the photos walked out, all of them with hatred on their faces. But in the next moment, Bei Yunj glanced at them slowly, making them feel inexplicably nervous and oppressed. She said, they should still have my photos. Otherwise, how could this group of fans recognize her? Lu Zhongzhou frowned, looking slightly cold. Had this group of people become stupid from chasing celebrities? They dared to attack anyone? Tan Nan's cold voice sounded. Get in the car first. We'll settle these matters. Bei Yunj hummed in response and looked at the stunned Qin Yu behind her. Her eyebrows moved and she was a little hesitant. Then. I'll get going first. I'll look for you tomorrow. After Qin Yu regained his senses, his mind was in a mess. He didn't know how Bei Yunj knew these people. However, someone who could wear such clothes couldn't be a bad person. Besides, he could tell that these people valued Bei Yunj's safety very much. Qin Yu wanted to say something but stopped. Then, he chuckled. Okay. He didn't know how to ask about her now. After all, as her brother, he had neglected his duty for so many years. Have a good rest when you get back. With that said, Bei Yunj got into the car. However, because of this simple concern, Qin Yu's cold heart suddenly warmed, as if the snow had just melted. His lips curved. Okay. In the nanny van not far away. When Han Yu saw Bei Yunj being escorted into the car, she froze and her pupils constricted. Who are those people? When the others saw this, it was as if a basin of cold water had been poured over their hearts. Why was that girl being escorted by these people? They had originally thought that she was just a young lady who relied on her looks to climb up the social ladder. But now, this girl's identity was clearly not simple. What should we do? There won't be any problems, right? Sister Wen began to feel afraid. There was still room for discussion if they offended capitalists. After all, there were so many capitalists who didn't agree with him. But if he was called out by the higher-ups, he would definitely be banned. Shut up. The manager said coldly, it's just a fan's behavior. What does it have to do with us? They took a deep breath, but their hearts were very uneasy. Subsequently, just as Han Yu was about to ask her manager to enlighten the fans and leave a good impression on them, another alarm sounded. Everyone turned around and saw that it was Neely's local police car. When 4 or 5 police cars arrived, they quickly went forward to greet and talk to Lu Zhongzhou. In the meantime, those fans had a bad premonition and wanted to run away. But who knew? Soon, the people who got out of the police car surrounded them, scaring them so much that their faces turned pale. They no longer had the aura of throwing stones at people just now. The chief communicated with them in an unfamiliar language. I'm sorry, girls. You're involved in causing trouble and intentional injury. Please come back to the station with us for investigation. Instantly, the fans almost cried in fear. P.S. I'm back for an update. Babies, remember the monthly ticket. Chapter 858. We're just upholding justice. Why are you arresting us? One of the female university students bit her lip and communicated with him. It's clearly that woman who deliberately bullied our Yu. However, hearing this, the chief could not help but sneer. Since you can uphold justice, why do you need us? You've already caused injuries and caused a bad impact. You have to bear legal responsibility. Another recorder said coldly, including your so-called idols. If the situation is serious, we will apply for her to be banned from performing in our nation. With that said, the expression of the manager who had just gotten out of the car changed. It was not easy for them to become the female lead of Qin Yu's MV. If they could not perform in our nation, wouldn't they ruin their international development? No one thought why it was so serious. At this moment, Lu Zhongzhou also glanced at them coldly. Tan Nan said softly to the chief, I want to assist you in your investigation. That person's information might still be in their hands. The chief nodded reasonably. No problem. They had done a lot of work to invite that person over this time. Of course, nothing could happen to her in Neely. Not long after, Qin Yu received a notice from Yang Xian. The marketing that Han Yu had gotten someone to buy seemed to have been dealt with. Even Han Yu and her team's main accounts had been blocked. They did not know the reason yet. In the car, someone has already dealt with the matter. Their behavior this time is bad. I'll apply for the higher-ups to deal with these artistes. Lu Zhongzhou had just finished speaking when he was rejected. Qin, you can't do it. This caused Lu Zhongzhou to be stunned. After Bei Yunj felt Lu Zhongzhou and the others' gazes, she said calmly, that's my second brother. With that said, only then did the others react. She was a rich young lady. Some time ago, she had even appeared on a show with Qin Yu. However, the show was live-streamed and Bei Yunj's scenes were cut out of the recording. At the police station, Han Yu's expression did not look too good. She finally knew what Bei Yunj meant when she said, there's a good place for you later. At the police station. Han Yu bit her lip. Her face was illuminated by the dazzling white light. Soon, someone came to interrogate her. This did not look like an ordinary crime at all, making Han Yu and the rest feel afraid. In one night, Han Yu and the others had vomited everything they wanted to vomit. He was arranged to be deported back to his country. After the fans woke up, they knew that they were being used. They all actively wrote self-reflections and wanted to go home as soon as possible. The next day, Han Yu had directly made the headlines. The financier originally wanted to interfere, but after knowing who the person who touched Han Yu was, he immediately pretended to be dead. In the morning, after Pei Yunj was arranged to have breakfast, she went to the award ceremony venue. Because Farazk was the grand prize, the award ceremony was held in Neely's largest church from the last century. The people who entered the venue were all people who had won international awards. Some of them were also representatives of the companies that had invested in them. Higgins Group used to be the #1 technology group, so they always had this opportunity to see the real faces of these gods that they usually couldn't see. Shang Yan, do you think I can support that lass with you just because you brought me here? Fan Zhiqing chuckled. Shang Yan said slowly, I'm helping you so that you won't stand on the wrong side. Fan Zhiqing was the heir of the Fan Group in a country. He focused on scientific research and had always cooperated with the Higgins Group. Chapter 859. I say, don't tell me you're chasing after that little brat. How is my Weiyu worse than that little girl who doesn't know anything? Fan Zhiqing asked in confusion. Stop talking nonsense. You can go in now, Shang Yan said calmly without changing his expression. Then, Fan Zhiqing looked around curiously. When he saw an old man with white hair, his eyes widened. Look! It's Mr. Huntington. The first mathematician to solve the 800 questions. However, Huntington didn't seem to appear often, even at award ceremonies. Why was he here this time? Soon, Fan Zhiqing got an answer. His eyes lit up. Yes. This woman was too amazing. She solved the 800 questions twice in one go. In other words, these heavyweight researchers were not here for the Farazk Award ceremony, but because this was S award ceremony. I suddenly want to know what looks like. Fan Zhiqing couldn't help but yearn. She was a super genius who was praised both at home and abroad. In the past, at every award ceremony, there would be people who felt that their supporters were better than the winner. But this time, the mathematicians who won the award with her were indifferent. They didn't think that anyone else could win this award. She solved 2 of the 800 questions in one go. This was very similar to the hype on the internet. However, this person was a true big shot. There's no hurry. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Shang Yan glanced at him, his tone unclear. On the stage, the researchers who knew each other greeted each other and exchanged pleasantries, but they couldn't help but take a few more glances outside. It was as if they were waiting for someone to arrive. In the car. Pei, are you nervous? Lu Zhongzhou looked like a big brother, but he treated Bei Yunj like his own daughter. Bei Yunj played with the maps of the gods and said lazily, just a so-so. It wasn't her first time winning an award. But to them, it was her first time. Then, have you prepared your acceptance speech? Lu Zhongzhou asked. Bei Yunj said slowly, yes. God Lu, why are you more nervous than Miss Pei? A team member couldn't help but snicker, but was beaten up by Lu Zhongzhou. Not long after. After getting out of the car, Bei Yunj was about to bring her people in, but she was stopped at the door. I'm sorry, but there are already a lot of security guards inside. Miss, you can't bring anyone else in. Someone stopped her. Hearing this, just as Lu Zhongzhou and the others were about to leave, they heard Bei Yunj's clear voice. Those are not security personnel. They are soldiers from our country. Lu Zhongzhou and the others subconsciously glanced at Bei Yunj, and their hearts warmed. But Bei Yunj did not intend to give in and let these people stay outside. "This is my award ceremony. Are you going to leave my friends outside?" Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes were full of playfulness. "Then you can continue." Without waiting for Lu Zhongzhou and the others to react, he turned around and got back into the car to continue playing the game. It was a typical look of, "Father doesn't like to cooperate. Pei, we're all happy that you won an award. We're waiting for you outside instead of squatting on the streets." Lu Zhongzhou and the others had a good relationship with Bei Yunj. Seeing that this ancestor was not cooperating again, they couldn't help but coax him. Bei Yunj also had special feelings for these people. After all, since her previous life, these people in this special profession had protected her with their lives and accompanied her as she grew up. "Come up and sit down." Bei Yunj's indifferent tone didn't allow them to refuse. "P.S. Be good and remember the monthly ticket." Chapter 860. Lu Zhongzhou, Tan Nan, and the others. This ancestor was really not that easy to persuade. Bei Yunj leaned against the leather seat and looked at the long road outside. She said unhurriedly, "It's just an award. If you guys like it, I'll get more next time. I'll give each of you one." These words were very arrogant, but they did not think that Bei Yunj could not do it. Then, just as everyone was feeling touched, Bei Yunj suddenly turned around. "Oh right, I saw the ice cream truck again just now." Everyone, they suddenly suspected that Bei Yunj had just cheated them of a wave of favorability points so that they would agree to let her buy ice cream. On the way just now, Bei Yunj saw the ice cream truck. But no one thought that they could eat ice cream so early in the morning. Moreover, it was an award ceremony later. Lu Zhongzhou looked at Tan Nan and asked for his opinion. Tan Nan's voice was gentle. "Let's buy it." A few minutes later, the organizers of Farisk realized that something was wrong. Everyone was almost here, but why was the most important person missing? Soon, a representative walked to the door and asked, "Is there anyone else who isn't here?" "Sir, a young lady came and left just now." After the security guard told him about the general situation, the expression of the organizer's representative became more and more ugly. This young lady was most likely. "Ah! Quick, go find Mr. Zhong Xinglin and the others." The representative instantly panicked. 10 minutes later, the long green car was slowly driving towards the award ceremony hall. Bei Yunj leisurely dug into the soft candy ice cream. As for those men who said that they did not like to eat such sweet snacks, at this moment, each of them was holding a small bucket, their faces full of happiness. "What's wrong with that boss? He even chased after him for more than 10 minutes to buy ice cream." Bei Yunj looked at the angry Lu Zhongzhou and could not help but smile. Who wouldn't be afraid of being chased by a military vehicle? It was no wonder that the boss sped up crazily. Lu Zhongzhou was chasing after him and shouting. How could he not be scared? When their car arrived at the entrance again, the security guard almost cried tears of joy. He ran up to her. "Miss, you should go in quickly." Bei Yunj didn't even look up. She continued to bite on her ice cream spoon. "If they don't go in, why should I?" The security guards couldn't handle it well and immediately called a representative over. Not long after, the representative came up with an apologetic smile. "Excuse me, are you Miss?" "Yes." Bei Yunj answered casually. When the representative heard this, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He sized up the beautiful and languid girl in front of him. If this was placed in front of anyone, no one would think that she was. Your friends can naturally go in together. It's just that we're still asking the leaders to let your friend enter. The representative immediately smiled and said, "I'm sorry about what happened just now. Why don't you go in first and let these gentlemen follow me to register?" Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes. It was difficult for her to see through her emotions. The representative was anxious, afraid that this person would quit at the last minute. Tan Nan suddenly said, You go in first. We'll look for you after we register. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and glanced at the representative. Her lips curved. Then I'll leave my friend to you. Don't worry, this won't be a problem. The representative heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Tan Nan gratefully. After Bei Yunj got out of the car, she happened to be seen by a familiar person. Old Mr. Angel. Chapter 861. Angel frowned, his face filled with displeasure and coldness. Why is she here? The higher-ups in the same industry, this is, the one who made Lilia drop out of school. Angel sneered. Is this a place where she can come? Maybe it's Delaney's connection. The higher-ups still knew about Lilia's expulsion last time. This matter was very big. After all, Lilia had filmed several movies and was considered a public figure. Seeing Angel's anger, a dark look flashed across the higher-ups' eyes. They smiled and said, Sir, have you forgotten that Lilia's teacher, Tenzin Yano, is also here today? Angel turned to look at him. You mean, if we give her a show of strength now, everyone will know that she's someone who offended Professor Yano? The higher-ups had ill intentions. When Angel heard this, he hesitated. But Principal Worrell seems to be, Neely University has a close relationship with the Delaney group now. We can't take anything Principal Worrell says seriously. The higher-ups' words dispelled Angel's worries. That was indeed the case. Ever since Lilia was expelled, Angel felt that he could not take this lying down. How could a member of the Angel family be bullied by a little girl like her? Thinking of this, Angel's face darkened and he walked in. It was time to make that Bei Yunj pay the price. Bei Yunj threw the ice cream box outside before handing her invitation to the guard. The guard's gaze fell on the name written on it, and his expression changed instantly. He suddenly looked up. You're why, after the guard came back to his senses, he immediately said respectfully, Please come in, Mississippi. Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes. Thank you. In the auditorium. Inside were neatly dressed ladies and gentlemen. Most of them were older, but their temperaments were refined. Not long after Bei Yunj entered the venue, she was glanced at by everyone. Soon, their interest was dispelled and they moved away. They thought that she was a student brought by a professor. Bei Yunj was looking for her seat when she suddenly heard a voice not far away. You are the one who transferred my student to another school? Bei Yunj turned around and saw a middle-aged man in his 40s. She thought for a while and suddenly laughed. Which one are you talking about? These words instantly made Tensei Servano's expression turn ugly. Where did such an uneducated little girl come from? Lilia is my student. Tenya Servano's tone was cold as he gritted his teeth. It's her. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows. There was a hint of playfulness in his eyes. So, are you here to apologize to me? What arrogance. Tensei Servano also sneered. Can you accept my apology? Suddenly, everyone's attention was attracted by Tenya Yano. Whose student is Tenya Servano arguing with? Someone began to discuss. Who knows? Whose student is that? He's so insensible that he actually dared to challenge Tenya Yano. Someone laughed. He was this year's Farisk nominee. Many people wanted to build a good relationship with him. Is it necessary for Tenya Yano to do that? Arguing with a student? Huntington, who was standing in the distance, could not help but frown when he heard about this matter. It said that the student transferred his student, so he wants to teach this student a lesson in public. P.S. Thank you to the children who voted for Master Pei. Master Pei maintained his ranking well this month. Are there any children who voted for Master Pei this month to stabilize his ranking? Chapter 862. The more Huntington listened, the more he felt that it was outrageous. He frowned and walked over. He heard Tensei Yano say to the girl, Student, your methods are very impressive. You can make my student drop out of school. Unfortunately, the scientific research community can't tolerate people like you who have bad intentions. Do you want to walk out yourself, or do you want me to ask the security to escort you out? If she was really chased out by Farisk, it would be a stain on her record in the future. Not far away, Angel saw that Tensei Yano was also making things difficult for Bei Yunj and felt much more at ease. Since she doesn't leave a way out for herself at such a young age, then don't blame others for not giving her a way out. Angel sneered. But who knew, originally, anyone else present would be afraid of this kind of thing, but the girl in front of him had a carefree expression. Is that so? Since. Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, he suddenly heard a serious elder speak. Tensei Yano, don't you think that what you're doing is unbefitting of your status? Bei Yunj recognized the person in front of him in the blink of an eye. On the wall of fame of the School of Science of Neely University, the first mathematician to have his portrait placed on it was Huntington. Bei Yunj was a little surprised that the person in front of him would speak up for him. Mr. Huntington, this matter doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Are you her teacher? Tensei Yano was aggressive instead. Everyone respected Huntington, but he didn't think much of it. This was because he would soon become the third person to solve the question of the 1,008 questions. Huntington frowned. No. Then what do you mean by protecting her so much? Tensei Yano sneered. Although you were invited to this award ceremony, I'm one of the main characters of this award ceremony. As soon as he finished speaking, no one said anything. I've already asked someone to contact the security. I hope Mr. Huntington can do his job well. Tensei Yano did not back down. At this moment, Bei Yunj had already found a seat and sat in the first row. He did not pay much attention to Tensei Yano. This scene also made the others frown. Was this seat something she could sit in? The first row was filled with big shots who could stand at the peak of the scientific research community. She, a student who didn't know how she got in, actually dared to sit in the first row? How rude. She didn't know whose seat she was sitting in. However, Huntington suddenly realized that the seat Bei Yunj was sitting in was on his right. It seemed like, in the center of the first row. Usually, it seemed that only the winners would sit in that position. Huntington remembered what Marcus had said last time. She seemed to be a very young and beautiful girl. However, he thought that no matter how young she would be around 26 or 28 years old. And the person in front of him seemed to be in his early 20s at most. Soon, the security guards arrived. Professor Tenyevano, what happened? The student in the first row. If you don't chase me out, then don't let me attend this award ceremony. Tensei Servano said coldly. When the security guard heard this, he subconsciously looked embarrassed and walked to the first row. Unfortunately, it was a familiar face. The security guard was stunned and said in surprise, "Miss? Why are you here?" As soon as he finished speaking, the researchers who were drinking red wine spat it out. There was also the sound of a wine glass shattering. All the big shots present froze, doubting their ears. The atmosphere was cold and strange. Chapter 863. So this was not anyone's student but the one they wanted to see the most today. No one had ever thought that he would be so young. Bei Yunj glanced at the security guard and raised his eyebrows. Do you need me to go out with you? Hearing this, the staff member shook his head violently. He had goosebumps all over his body. Please sit down. Sit down properly. What a joke. This person's temper was obviously not very good. How dare he go against the gun? Then wasn't he crazy? Bei Yunj leaned back in his seat casually. He propped up his head with his hand and gently pressed his fingers against his temples. He said slowly, "Thank you. I thought you invited me here today to teach me how to be a person." Everyone was speechless. Instantly, the atmosphere became even colder. Who would dare to teach him how to be a person? At this moment, Tenya Servano's expression was ugly. He was still in disbelief. But the next moment, he heard a familiar teasing voice. Who is this? Who provoked us at the award ceremony? Everyone turned their heads and saw Marcus and Zhong Xinglin appear. But for some reason, they felt that the two people in front of them were strange. Several older researchers subconsciously touched their sparse hair on the top of their heads. Why did their hair seem to be a little out of place? Bai Yunj glanced at them lazily and asked leisurely, when will the award ceremony end? I want to return to Yuncheng as soon as possible. These words made the big researchers present sober up. If she left so soon, how could they build a good relationship with her? Many people wanted to go up and talk to her, but she was sitting in the first row and did not have the face to do so. Similarly, Tenya Servano's face turned pale and he was sweating all over. He did not expect that the person he had just humiliated was actually, has Angel lost his mind? She actually asked him to offend. Even though he and were both nominees, he was sitting at the edge of the second row while was sitting in the center of the first row. This was also the difference in status in the industry. There are still many interesting places in Nili. Why are you going back so early? Marcus walked over and sat on Bai Yunja's right with Zhong Xinglin. The first row was filled with big shots in the industry. Everyone had different thoughts in their minds, and the way they looked at Tenya Servano changed. Fortunately, he didn't say anything to Tenya Servano just now. Otherwise, not only would this trip be in vain, but they would also offend this year's new scientific researcher. Bai Yunj said half-heartedly, I still have to revise. The college entrance examination is coming up next year. Everyone, so Bai Yunj was still a senior in high school? Was Country A's luck this year? This wasn't just a super genius that had appeared out of nowhere. At such a young age, one could imagine how frightening her strength would be in the future. College entrance exam? You need to take the college entrance exam to go to Yun University. Then why don't you come to Nili University and promise me? Marcus took the opportunity to poach people. Looking at Marcus' sneaky appearance, Zhong Xinglin wanted to pull out his newly planted hair. Old Ma, look at the second floor. Zhong Xinglin gestured with a fake smile. When Marcus heard this, he instinctively looked up and saw Lu Zhongzhou and the other 20 people. Do you know the consequences of touching our national treasure? Zhong Xinglin asked with a smile, but there was a sinister aura to it. His gaze seemed to sweep past Tenya Servano. Marcus, Tenya Servano, P.S. There will be an explosive update in 2 days. I'm writing overnight. Chapter 864. Obviously. This young scientific researcher was the apple of Country A's eye. Bai Yunj couldn't help but twitch her eyelids. She looked up and scanned the second floor. It was a lounge with a glass wall. Although there were sofas at the back, Lu Zhongzhou and the rest still walked out and stood by the railing. The award ceremony was about to begin. Tenya Yano, who was at the edge of the second row, also clenched his fists, feeling a little flustered. He was afraid that he would find trouble with him later. The top entrepreneurs who could only be seen on television had also finished their small talk and returned to their seats from the hall. Their gazes drifted to the first row, and their intentions were clear, for, usually, there wouldn't be so many technology companies present at the Ferisk ceremony. But this time, they clearly had a purpose. There are too many people. I can't see the big boss in the first row. Do you think she's here? Fan Zhiqing couldn't help but mutter. That was the most famous scientific researcher in their country this year. In addition to the Ferisk Prize this time, she was also nominated for the Busaka Prize. The one and only God-level big boss. Shang Yan also received a reply to the message he sent to Bai Yunj. His brows relaxed. She's here. Really? Which one in the first row? Did you see her? Fan Zhiqing was extremely excited. However, Shang Yan was talking to him about something else. Perform well when you go to the company tomorrow. After today, she'll be free to come to the company. Fan Zhiqing frowned and said with a hint of disdain, Shang Yan, is she worth your effort? Do you have to spoil the mood on this occasion? At this point, he sneered. I've never seen an heir so big. She hasn't even met the company's elders and she's already stood them up twice. Does she really think she's the future head of the family? Fan Zhiqing had a bad impression of this heir who had never appeared. Especially the projects she brought, no one was allowed to touch them. However, Shang Yan only listened to her. Seeing that he was so resistant, Shang Yan didn't say anything else. At this moment, Angel was below the stage, listening to the opening speech of the ceremony. He naturally turned his head and asked his people calmly, "How is it? Has that person been chased out?" This was the best lesson he could give Bai Yunj. Come to think of it, he must have a deep impression of her. So what if he managed to climb up to the Fernan's family? No one would pay any attention to a madam who had not yet ascended to the position of patriarch. At this moment, the higher-ups who had just returned were panting, but they didn't look too good. "Sir, that person seems to be," as soon as he finished speaking. Suddenly, an accident happened on the stage. The guest of honor of the award ceremony was a relatively young researcher. Before the award ceremony, he intentionally or unintentionally said some words about Country A. There was a sense of superiority in his expression. This made Zhong Xinglin, who was sitting in the first row, look gloomy. In the second row, Tan Nan, who understood the foreign language, had a dark expression on his face. In the arena, no one burst into laughter because of his purposeful joking tone. Seeing that the atmosphere had cooled down, the guest presenter cut to the chase. He smiled and said, "Then let's welcome the winner of this year's Farisk Mathematics Prize to the stage." After saying that, he smiled casually and said, "Everyone, please give him a round of applause. It's rare for a scholar from Country A to come on stage." As soon as he finished speaking, no one felt that this was the time to applaud. The atmosphere fell into a silent silence. And the person sitting in the middle of the first row lazily crossed her legs and rested her head with one hand. Her beautiful eyes were filled with playfulness and danger as she looked at him. She had no intention of going on stage. Chapter 865. Marcus was the first to speak with a cold warning. This is the academic circle, not a political stage. Disgust rose in everyone's hearts. Was he trying to embarrass others or was he trying to ruin his own reputation by speaking in such an inappropriate manner on this occasion? Tisk, it's just a joke. Miss can't possibly reject it, right? The guest said word by word with a smile. This is the Farisk Prize. Everyone needs such a prize to go down in history. As soon as he finished speaking, on the second floor, a hint of hostility flashed across Tan Nan's eyes. His fingers caressed the black and cold wooden body, trying his best to suppress something. Suddenly, the people in the first row stood up. It was an outrageously young and beautiful girl. Her bright eyes were wild and arrogant. One look and one could tell that she was not someone to be trifled with. At this moment, after Angel saw the back view clearly, he felt that it was familiar. That person is. Angel froze and watched as Bai Yunj stood on stage, her side profile slowly appearing. How could it be her? Why hadn't she left yet and even appeared on stage? Soon, a terrifying thought appeared in Angel's mind. No way. Impossible. How could it be? How could it be her? Angel muttered to himself, his face pale and his entire body weak. How could she be? Angel denied it in his heart, but soon, all the things that could not be explained before were answered. Delaney's protection of her, Principal Worrell's respect for her, why was it her? Why did it have to be her? Suddenly, before anyone could react, the guest on stage fell off the stage. This scene caused everyone to be dumbstruck, and it was deathly silent. If they were not mistaken, she had just kicked this 8-meter-tall male guest off the stage. What a ruthless big boss. Marcus could not come back to his senses. He could not help but ask Zhong Xinglin, is this really the girl that Lan Jun raised? Zhong Xinglin, it should be, right? Lan Jun had been as gentle as water all her life. Back when she won the biology award overseas and was mocked by the host, she only blushed and said a few words of sarcasm. But this person, the moment he stepped onto the stage, he directly kicked him off the stage. The atmosphere in the audience made everyone afraid to move. This scene stunned even Tan Nan and the others on the second floor. Miss Pei was as ruthless as ever. After that, everyone had goosebumps on their backs as they felt deep respect for this big shot. Who the hell dared to kick their guest presenter at the Farisk Awards? Since you don't mind that you can't control your mouth, then don't mind that I can't control my legs. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows. He looked unruly, but there was an intimidating aura in his eyes that made people feel inexplicably afraid. Bei Yunj looked at the trophy on the ground, picked it up slowly, and wiped it with a clean handkerchief. She chuckled, her eyes full of youthful vigor. Then, she said casually, however, there is a need to clarify something. It's not that I lack any awards. It's that your awards are still lacking. These words were ostentatious and unruly, but they stirred up the hearts of everyone and made their blood boil. It was too hot. Even Fan Zhiqing, who was below the stage, could not help but follow the girl on the stage who was more dazzling than the light. She was born to be convincing. Zhong Xinglin's lips curled up unconsciously. He could see too many possibilities for the young people of this era in her. Chapter 866. Thank you for your attention to our country's scientific research development. Bei Yunj licked her red lips and laughed. She placed one hand on the podium and placed the trophy on the table. Then from today onwards, pay more attention. Because in the next 40 or 60 years, the only one that can surpass is next year's. This speech could be said to be impudent. However, no one dared to clamor below the stage. Everyone was silent. Bei Yunj curled her lips and released the trophy in her hand. She bowed slightly. The humility of a young man could not hide the high spirits in her black eyes. I'm very honored to be the winner of the Farisk Prize, but I'm ashamed to accept it. Seeing this, Zhong Xinglin hurriedly went forward to stop her. However, he saw Bei Yunj kick the guest who had just presented the award and quickly leave the hall. There was a commotion in the hall. As soon as she finished speaking, the organizers froze, but at this moment, she had already left the stage. Fan Zhiqing felt so good that his scalp turned numb and his eyes lit up. But she doesn't look old. She seems to be younger than me, right? Stop dreaming. No one had ever seen someone reject the Farisk Prize before. Isn't this too handsome? Fan Zhiqing chuckled. Is it wrong for me to pursue true love? Of the students, one is Tich and the other is Jasmine. Shang Yan said calmly. Why? Don't you like that young lady who is your successor? He had seen Tich and Jasmine before. One was richer than him, and the other was more handsome. It was indeed difficult for her to fancy him. Shang Yan asked slowly, which one can you compare to? Fan Zhiqing. Good fellow, how ruthless. Angel's expression did not look too good and his steps were erratic. Suddenly, at this moment, Shang Yan turned around and saw Angel sitting in his seat. A dark look flashed across his eyes. In the long car. Old Mr. Angel. Shang Yan's voice made Angel turn to look at him. Lu Zhongzhou immediately interrupted, it's already like this? Aren't you the one who spoiled her? At this moment, the others looked at the dignified captains of Falcon and Wolf as if they were arguing about the education of children. Lu Zhongzhou looked at this audacious guy with a pained expression. What are you doing? That's the Farisk Prize. You refuse to accept it and even hit someone? Are you trying to ascend to heaven? Tan Nan said, all right, it's already like this, at this moment. Zhong Xinglin sighed and explained to Lu Zhongzhou what the guest had said on stage. The scene was very strange. Bei Yunj, very soon. After Lu Zhongzhou learned the truth, he suddenly understood why Bei Yunj had hit him on the spot. If it were him, he would beat him up too. Almost everyone was shocked. Not long after, the person involved revealed that not only did she refuse to accept the fair's prize, she even hit him, a guest presenter. This matter also started to spread on the internet. The news about #Fairist's rejection spread from the external network to the internal network of Country A. There were also shouts on the external network, asking for an apology. When most people on the internal network found out about this, their first reaction was shock. Later on, they felt that this matter was her attitude was arrogant and her actions were extremely vile. This caused public outrage. There were all kinds of comments online. Is there anything this woman doesn't dare to do? F***ck, so ruthless. Is this the big boss? Chapter 867. I don't know why, but I feel that it's not necessary to do this. The moment she changed her nationality, there were more than 10,000 comments. She's clearly in the wrong. She hit someone and refused to accept it. The public opinion in the country is too scary. That's right. The netizens are all scolding her. So what if she's a little talented? Her sense of superiority is too strong. She's a disgrace to us a people. The upstairs is wrong. There are hundreds of millions of views, dog head, in my comments section. Only the guest presenter spoke about this matter. Is what he said true? She would rather kneel down and suck up to an international friend. It's even more embarrassing for a people. She received an award and refused to accept it. She's not pleasing to the eye. Then you can take it next time, dog head, this group of unruly people. How can they judge my goddess blindly? They don't know anything and they dare to talk nonsense. Fan Zhiqing scratched his hair angrily. Shang Yan glanced at him and slowly took a sip of tea. Tidy up. She'll be here soon. I'm not interested. Whoever wants to see her can see her. Fan Zhiqing crossed his legs. He didn't like the heir who stood him up twice. Then, just as Shang Yan was about to say something, a phone call suddenly came. Shang Yan answered and the corners of his lips curled up unconsciously. Okay, it's okay. Come over in the afternoon. Hearing this, Fan Zhiqing instantly knew who the person who stood him up was. Miss is awesome. She stood you up again? Fan Zhiqing sneered. Shang Yan said unhurriedly, she's at the police station making a statement. Fan Zhiqing, it seemed that this heir was a ruthless character. At the police station. In the hall outside was Tan Nan, who was negotiating with her. Bei Yunj leaned against the wall and glanced at the smug Nan Luo. This was the guest presenter who had been kicked twice by Bei Yunj yesterday. He came in a wheelchair. You didn't expect us to meet again, did you? Nan Luo sneered. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and smiled lazily. 700,000 yuan in medical fees. It's not very expensive. Officer, let me add 2 more kicks. How about adding 1,000,000 yuan? The staff, she was arrogant enough. Nanro's face was full of fear. He asked his assistant to push him further away from Bei Yunj. Stand properly, I'll take a picture of you. The staff led Bei Yunj to a tall wall and prepared to record Bei Yunj's case. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows when she heard that. When the other party was counting down, Bei Yunj hesitated for a moment and slowly made a peace sign. It was the first time the young staff member in charge of taking photos had encountered such a tricky operation. However, the girl in front of him was too beautiful. Her eyes were hesitant and serious. The contrast was inexplicably cute. He coughed lightly and his ears turned red. Well, miss, you only need to, shortly after. Before the staff member could finish speaking, he was suddenly pushed away by the female staff member who had been staring at Bei Yunj for a long time. That's right. That's it. Miss, come here, let's change the action. The female crew member taught Bei Yun's hand gestures seriously, while the male crew member had a numb look on his face, but he could only force himself to continue filming. During the process, the female crew member couldn't wait to pinch Bei Yun's face, but she didn't dare to do it. God knew that she was actually a beautiful young lady with a godly face that attracted both men and women. However, just as the female crew member was smiling like an ant, Si Qingyan happened to come to pick her up and witness this group of people teaching Master Pei how to act cute. Chapter 868. Bei Yun felt that there was something wrong with Meili's police station, but seeing how enthusiastic the staff was, she did not say anything. Seeing this, Si Qingyan's scalp started to go numb. Every time this ancestor caused trouble, it was easy for her to admit defeat and act coquettishly to make the elders happy. He actually dared to teach her how to act cute. In the future, when Bei Yun committed murder and arson, Zhong Xinglin would feel that it was not her fault. Then, when the female staff turned around and saw Si Qingyan, she immediately coughed lightly. "It's done. You can leave now, Mississippi, thank you." After Bei Yun finished speaking, she had just left the hall with Si Qingyan when the staff suddenly received a call. Then, her expression darkened. "Chief, this call just now." The staff could not help but look at Bei Yun before turning to look at the chief. What happened? Not long after the chief went over to talk, he subconsciously glanced at Bei Yun. A few minutes later, the chief went forward and smiled at Bei Yun. "Miss, you can leave now." Bei Yun raised her eyebrows, quite surprised. This seemed to be because of that call. Then, just as he was caught off guard, the chief suddenly got someone to handcuff Nan Luo. "I'm sorry, Mr. Nan Luo. Someone brought evidence and reported you to us for fraud and smuggling. You have to stay." Instantly, Nan Luo, who was still waiting for Bei Yun to apologize to him, suddenly changed his expression. "Impossible. How could I do such a thing?" Hearing his denial, the chief's eyes turned cold. "Whether you did it or not, we will give you an answer." Seeing this scene, the other staff were also very surprised. After Bei Yun and the rest left, the male staff member who had just taken the photo pulled the female staff member back. "You're too bold. Why did you take photos of the case? The chief said just now that this is just for show." The female staff member shrugged. "Anyway, no matter how they took it, it would not be recorded." In the car, "Did you gather evidence?" Bei Yun asked. Tan Nan shook his head and looked at her. That call just now might not be just to report Nan Luo. Or maybe someone was protecting Bei Yun. A trace of thought flashed past Bei Yun's eyes. Dezhou Building. The man raised his hand lazily, his slender fingers caressing the photo that Bei Yun had taken at the police station. His posture was light and unhurried. He tapped the cigarette ash with his fingertips and exhaled a thin white smoke. The way he smoked was somewhat irresistible. Did she come out? The person beside Huashidu was not Sing Su, but another cold-looking man. Zhou Yu said, "Yes, sir. As for Nan Luo, he will go to jail for 10 years. All right, you may leave." After the man finished speaking, Zhou Yu left. At this very moment, Huashidu caressed the photo in his hand. His low and hoarse laughter was a little charming, as if it was teasing one's eardrums. He put the photo on the table and his lips curled into a cynical smile. He casually put out the cigarette. Where did this little recidivist come from? How dare you? Higgins Group. Once again, everyone sat in the meeting room, waiting for the boss to appoint his successor. This was the 4th time. Mai Weiyu looked at the indifferent Shang Yan and could not help but bite her lip. She sneered again. "Are you sure she will come this time?" Everyone also expressed their doubts. "She's almost here." Shang Yan glanced at the message and then at the people present. Chapter 869. A hint of coldness flashed across my Weiyu's eyes and she could not help but clench her fists. How could an outsider compete with her? She would like to see what ability this person had to compete with her. She's already upstairs. Following Xiang Yan's voice, everyone looked at each other. They did not expect her to come so quickly. Fan Zhiqing, who was sitting at the side, had a faint disdain and sarcasm in his eyes. I really don't know if Nancy is crazy. She actually chose someone who can go to the police. As soon as he finished speaking. Before Fan Zhiqing could retract the sarcasm on his face, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. Sorry, I'm late. Bei Yunj took off his hat and said in a clear voice, I just came back from the police station. The higher-ups, they felt that the new air was a little wild. When Fan Zhiqing saw Bei Yunj's face clearly, he almost fell off his chair. How could it be? Yesterday, he could only look at the person from a distance below the stage. Now, he was less than 3 meters away from him. After regaining his senses, Fan Zhiqing froze. Why, Fan Zhiqing? Xiang Yan's indifferent voice made Fan Zhiqing wake up. He was someone who had signed a confidentiality agreement. Thinking of this, Fan Zhiqing began to get excited again. It's not too late. It's good that she's out. Bei Yunj, everyone, no matter how he heard it, there was something wrong with those words. Bei Yunj glanced at Fan Zhiqing and did not seem to have any impression of him. After responding faintly, he naturally sat on the main seat. Seeing this, everyone thought that Bei Yunj's attitude would definitely make Fan Zhiqing angry. Unexpectedly, Fan Zhiqing looked at Bei Yunj obsequiously and his voice had a hint of unreality. You're the boss? Oh my God, how can I be so lucky? Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Was this still the arrogant young Master Qing they knew? My Weiyu's face darkened. She did not expect Fan Zhiqing to change sides so quickly even though he disliked the new heir the most. What the hell was going on? Let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Bei Yunj. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, everyone suddenly fell into silence. That was it? Gone. That was indeed simple enough. I only need to know your names. The rest is not important. Bei Yunj casually opened a bottle of mineral water and leisurely glanced at the people present. The intimidating look in his eyes inexplicably made people's hearts tremble. The girl in front of him looked very young, but her aura made him shudder. Not long after everyone reported their names one by one, the others were very doubtful. Could Bei Yunj really remember the names of 20 to 30 people at once? Then wouldn't she be a genius? My Weiyu's lips curled into a mocking smile as she looked at the person on the main seat who was deliberately mystifying things. I still have to remind everyone that I don't like it when someone arbitrarily changes my project. Bei Yunj spun the pen in his hand quickly and said in a cold and dangerous tone, nothing good will come out of stepping on my minefield. Hearing this, there was complete silence. Originally, the higher-ups present more or less wanted to intimidate the new heir. However, he didn't expect that this seemingly young girl would be able to control the situation and turn the tables around. Yes, everyone braced themselves and answered. But Miss Pei, I've always been in charge of the company's projects. Do you mean that you want to do it yourself? My Weiyu suddenly spoke. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.